All right. Yo, what's up? This Renz. That's Smoking Phoenix. Now this Renz Wildlife Religion, and today is Wednesday. General conversation today. Uh, we do have a. I had a title up there for this one. I don't know what happened to it, but today's conversation. Let me see if I can get that back on this thing. We're talking about you can't prove Jesus. You can't prove. You can't prove Christmas. I mean, not Christmas. You can't prove Genesis. You can't prove Christianity. You can't prove Jesus. We're gonna see if we can have some facsimile of a decent debate today. If we can, great. If we can't, we'll see. I had this thing all set up, then it messed up. Let's see if it come right back. But we're gonna look to have some questions. That's the most I can do. Okay, I can get down with that. All right. Where'd it go? Well, I tell you, this thing is driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy, y'all. But we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. But grand rising to everybody. How you doing? You know, we start out a little slow today, but it's gonna be all right. I forgot which one of those things I chose. I think I chose that one. Let's see if we can. That ain't the one I wanted. That ain't the one I wanted. That is not the one I wanted. I think that's the one I wanted. Let's rock with that. Yep. Got that on. I think I got it right on this old whatever the hell this thing called TikTok thing. Oh, I need my glasses because I ain't gonna be able to read some of these people's stuff. But people always, you know, we're gonna talk about some things here in a second. Feeling good today. Feeling good. So, yo, like I put out this Christian challenge, right? About a month ago, a couple of weeks back, rather. People been sending me back some old bull. You know, I tell them, hey, you just need to seek God. And it's like, we ain't got to prove nothing to you. But yet, nobody's been able to prove it. What, my man? Asherah Orchard. It's almost all inspired and or appropriated from older traditions. Abraham is actually a Hebrew, actually in Hebrew, explained as Avaraman or Harmon. Amun. Sarah is from Asherah and or Saraswati. David is Dumuzi. Now I will agree. Them Genesis story is a whole lot of Sumerian story that's going on with that Genesis story. The Genesis story got a whole lot of similarities, copies. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's copies from the Sumerian story all throughout the Genesis story. Ain't nothing but some Hebrew people found themselves in a situation where they needed a heritage, an antiquity, and so they stole somebody else's who they had already been a part of, which would have been the Sumerians. But they forgot that they forgot that they used to worship the Aten in Egypt. And that's where it came from. If you've been hanging with me in my series of why, what's wrong with the Bible. When we talked about Jacob, we saw that there's an Egyptian counterpart to that led right to Rameses through the process of Akhenaten, and that Rameses on the Red Sea fought against Tutankhamun's forces, and they came through. And they then became the Canaanite people up there. They joined in with the Canaanite people worshiping the Aten. Time goes by, about 1,000 years, they forget about the Egyptian roots. And them motherfuckers want to claim something brand new. They ain't nothing but Egyptian. I ain't saying Moses is real. There's a dude named Rameses. In Egypt. Found his grave. Well, found his tomb that he was going to be buried in. But then when Akhenaten was disposed of, he left and took the worshipers of Aten across the Red Sea and went up into the Levant. And then almost 1,000 years later, you start getting some Hebrews. It's because they forgot. Just like a lot of people, they forget their history. They forgot their history. The Hebrew people started out as Egyptian people during the reign of Aten. But the thing about it is I kept on getting people telling me, oh, Christians ain't got to prove nothing. Christians ain't got to prove nothing. Well, today, I know. Got up, my knee was hurting. It was all right. Went downstairs after a while, worked out a little bit. I'm feeling good. You mean Bantu? Hell no, I don't mean Bantu. Man, look, I'm not one of those black people who's going to try to make everything black. Everything is what it is. Ain't no Bantu over in Egypt. The Bantu migration went from like the Mali, Senegal area down through Central Africa and down into South Africa. It never went over to Northeast Africa. The Egyptians are Kush, or the people. Egyptians are Kushite people, then mixed in with some other folks later on. They ain't come from no Bantu. And I mean, still black, but just came from a different tribe. Everybody ain't got to be everybody. But I want them Christians who will swear me up and down. Oh, I ain't got to prove nothing to you. Just seek God. Prove your Jesus. Prove your Genesis. Prove your Christianity. Is what I'm looking for. Look, man, you typing way too much there, brother. The rabbinic tradition even, not that I ain't trying to say stop typing up this. The rabbinic tradition even calls Joseph Serapis and Jesus Yeshua is taken from the Enuma Ishmun. Ius in the Greek has the number local value of 88. The whole idea of the Hermes and the logos transmigristus, thrice great. Now the golden calf, I think that's Hathor. Oh, you did say Hathor, my bad. Flip her around and you get the Torah. We're talking about the daughter of Yahweh propelling. Hathor is the daughter of and lover of the father of Ra. That's some good information there. I'm down on YouTube here. Asherus, it might be a woman, sorry. Asherus Orchid, so it's probably a lady. So forgive me. It's throwing some good information over here. Y'all might need to jump over YouTube, TikTok, and Why I Left Religion and read this text. Oh, my bad. I can't tell. I need pictures, man. Yeah, dude, but appreciate it. That way I can address you correctly. That's the main thing. I just want to like to address people correctly. But I want those Christians who try to tell me if we could prove the existence of God, there wouldn't be separation. What? Separate religions. No, there would not be separate religions if you can prove any deity exists. If you can prove any deity exists, there would not be no separation. If this God was truly a God, wasn't a God of confusion, that Joker would show up and clear the air. Instead of allowing for 4,200 different religions to exist, at least 4,200 that we know about. When white Americans are doing it now, did I miss something? Doing it now for yourself from the politics of religions. You're under the God spell. Yeah, they are under a God spell, most assuredly. But so until I can get somebody on Facebook or TikTok who think they can have an argument of proving their God, let's look at this thing as we were going forward. Like I said up there, Christians kept on challenging, kept on saying that their God is real. They kept saying you need to seek God. You need to experience God. You need to have the Holy Spirit. This, that, and the third. I said, well, prove your God, because you can't prove him. If you can prove your God, then I'll quickly convert over. That's all you got to do is prove it. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, you need to be able to prove your God, right? And you can't prove your God by coming to me with scripture, because scripture doesn't prove your God. You know, you talk about prophecies, but I can attribute those prophecies in a whole bunch of different ways. Other religions have prophecies that have so-called come true. There are people who are not even religious. They've had prophecy. Those come true. So should I worship Notre Dame's? Notre Dame's prophecies come true. So should I worship that one? But people talk about all that. But I don't see it. Genesis. Can't prove anything in Genesis to be scientifically, historically, and archaeologically correct. None of it. You can't. And see, I know that God exists because of my faith, nothing more. Do you know how many other people believe that? And they Hindus, they Islamic, they every other religion. Faith is not an answer of proof. And here's the thing about, I know that God is real because of my faith. Faith is the absence of facts. It's the absence of proof. Therefore, you are admitting that you cannot prove it when you say that the proof is based on your faith. That's just an omission. You just admitting it. It's not an omission. That's just you admitting that you can't prove it, that you have no proof of it. So there's that. So faith, if you're going to come here with a faith argument, you've already lost, because your faith argument says that you have no facts and that it is all, I grew up this way. And then as I grew up this way, I started experiencing life. And as I experienced life, I was in a car wreck, or I was praying over some sick person. Every time some experience happened in your life, you attribute it to that God. Same thing Muslims say. The same thing Hindus say. The same thing every religion says. After a certain point of their life, as they experience things, they attribute it to their God. So then if that's the case, then every God is real. We might as well become henotheistic again, where everybody just accepts everybody else's God and leave everybody alone. What has science proved? What? You are still reading books, believing his story. Dude, okay, first of all, qualify yourself. What do you believe? Because I love when people say you reading books based on his story. You speaking English based on his language. What you talking about? And what does science prove? You know, what does science prove is about the dumbest goddamn thing that you can say. A lot of the ways that you live your life is based on science. The fact that you can get medicines is based on science. The fact that you can go to the hospital and get an operation is based on science. The fact that you have a house that is built is based on science. You know, people with this, what does science prove? Come on, man. Right. It's one's personal belief. That's it. It's one's personal belief. Donna, I can get down with you on that one. It's your personal belief. And if that's your personal belief, then that's where when people want to argue and fuss and fight and push it on other people and say that, no, this is it. That's where I have the problem. They are fooled. They're fooled. Their choices, their free will. They are fooled. Their choices, free will, my God, control yourself. I am very much in control. What you talking about? Freddie? Man, if you were a real Freddie, if you was the Freddie Jackson that I grew up with, that'd be cool. I'm talking about the singer. Where are the tunes? Okay, free will is on you. Your choice. Make your. All right. What are you Christian, Freddie? Let's establish that because I don't want to take anything you're saying out of context until I understand where you come, your point of view that you're coming from. So I'm gonna move on. What are the tombs in the graves of any? They haven't found any tomb. They even Abraham even told you where his tomb is at, and they still ain't found it. Well, see, the only thing about what you're saying, Donna, is that in your Bible, you got people like Elijah saying, I can prove my God. And he rained down the fire. You had Jesus performing miracles and other people performing miracles. And he said that others will come and perform greater miracles than him. We ain't seen no miracles. So proof is not just a spiritual thing of faith. Proof is also something that occurred within your book. And now you expect people to just believe what happened in the past. But it says that those things are supposed to still be happening. Right? So you still got to have proof. That's why when I say you got to prove it, that's why when I put out my challenge of proof, it is for the mere fact that your Bible says that there is proof and there will continuously be proof, not just faith. Faith alone is dead, right? Got to have some works. What book is he reading? I don't know what book he's reading. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, greetings everyone. Grand Rising, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please share the channel. Share it. I appreciate everybody who's here. Sometimes I get hyped. Most of the time I'm kind of, cool with everything. But thank y'all for being here and keep on sharing and keep on supporting the channel. That which is true is any faith is not merely because the tradition holds that. For instance, the idea that all waterways are connected, as said in Ecclesiastes, isn't true, but not due to the Bible. I get what you're saying, which is the truth. But you're right. All waterways are not connected. Just because it said that in the Bible doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, and it's not true. And some things are taken as metaphors. But your faith, people can have faith. It's cool for people to have faith. Sometimes you need something. You need to believe in something in order to get yourself together, even if it's believing in yourself, right? But when you force it on everybody else and say that it's proof, proof is my life. I did right. I want for nothing. Okay. Proof. This one I gotta pause and talk about this one, y'all. My man said that proof is my life. I did right. I want for nothing. So I don't want for anything. So is that proof that my version of God is correct? Is that proof that my focus on universal laws is correct? Nah. I did right and I don't want for nothing is because I take control of my life. Let me give you an example. Need a quick financial example since you don't want for nothing. Because I don't want for nothing either, personally. 1993. No, 90, not 93, 92. No, it was 93, 93. Come back from Bosnia, dead broke, whole bunch of debt that I didn't even create, but I got to pay for. Got all this debt. Get stationed in Germany. Go over to Germany. My granddaddy started handing me this book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I read The Richest Man in Babylon. I start following those principles of that book. Next thing I know, 2 years later, I'm completely out of debt. For the rest of my life thereafter, the only time I've been in debt is when I had a business that didn't go the way I wanted to go. But then I quickly know how to get myself out of that situation. My life has been right. I haven't wanted for anything. Even when I was At the lowest amount of money I've ever made, I still didn't want for nothing. Still had everything I needed. I got everything that I needed, and I got everything I wanted. And then even when I made the most money, it still was there. It's because I had policies in my mind and a life that I lived, but it wasn't based on your Jesus. You know, my grandmother was Christian, but she never wanted for anything. She was great, had a great life. I'm not Christian. I've had a great life. Don't want for anything. That's not proof. That's just that you lived a certain way and had certain things just happen a way that you want them to happen. Shit, the willpower can do that for you. All spirituality is people belief. Yeah, that Jesus did say don't force anything. Where was Jesus as a teenager and all through his 20s? That is a very interesting question, Gregory. So this Jesus character, according to this Bible, the Jesus character was told to go down to Egypt. That's what most people believe, right? That he was told to go to Egypt. That's what they tell you. The problem is, that's what one version says. One version says that the angel came and told, hey, get up, take the little boy to Egypt, and hide him there and don't come back until Herod is dead. The only problem is, historically, Herod was already dead before the Jesus character would have even been born. But we're not going to go there. Right? So one in Egypt. The other version says that they waited in Bethlehem until the 8th day, took him to the temple, consecrated him, and then they went back to Nazareth. And then it starts with his preaching. So most just merge the two together and say that they waited the 8 days, went to Bethlehem. Went to consecrate, then went to Nazareth, and then left Nazareth and went to Egypt. Is how some people try to make it fit. The only problem is that the angel said, go directly. He said, get up and take them straight down. So basically, people don't know. Then the infancy gospel of Thomas, which is in the Nag Hammadi writings, talks about how Jesus grew up in Nazareth as a little kid and was, he was a spoiled little bastard a couple times. He was a bad kid. Pushed the little kid off a roof, and then the kid died. And when they said, look at what he did, he resurrected the kid. But it wasn't like the kid was sick and then he went and resurrected. No, he pushed him off the roof. Read the infancy gospel of Thomas. Of course, they don't want that to be in their Bible, and they invalidate that book left and right because people legitimately had that question after a couple of 100 years. They was like, okay, where was this joker for like 30 years? But the real answer, he didn't exist. The storyboard answer is he more than likely he was just in Nazareth. They don't know. They argue about that. Oh, it has plenty of mistakes. Collect, catalog, categorize, classify. Exactly. Well, they're not going to be able to do all that. Catalog it, categorize it, classify it, and then chronologically organize it and order and present evidence detailing what actually happened. They're not there. They're not going to. There were 126 different historians in the Levant at this time frame that Jesus supposedly lived, and none of them wrote about him. That's a problem. Our water is connected. That's why we see plastic contamination even. Okay. Oh, I misunderstood what you were saying. No, I do agree that. Oh, I see what you're saying. So what I would rather you was over on TikTok and I can bring you on. I can't bring you on Astro Orchid on here. Morning Star, Age of Taurus, the bull. Age of Taurus equals bull. And we're supposed to be in the age of Aquarius right now. And Jesus was supposed to represent the age of Pisces. And see, that's one of the hard things about it. Is it astrotheology? Is it geometry? Is it, just fables and myths and stories? Is it true? It's so many different directions a person can go in just in reading the Bible. And oftentimes I tell people, if it's astrotheology and that connects for you, then rock with it. But don't get into arguments with people who don't go for that. I see some of all of it in there, personally. There's some alchemy in it. There's some of the hermetics in it. There's some astrotheology. There's allegory. There's all that. But what it ain't is history. It's not history. And it's not real. Yeah, it is funny that the most formative years of somebody's life is missing from the Jesus narrative. Right. The 12 sons of Jacob be 12 zodiac signs. And really, isn't it 13 sons, though? Because there's one version that he had, there was another son to replace a son that died or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I should know that because we just came through Genesis about a couple months ago. We finished Genesis. Right. Bethel, the house of bread, constellation of Virgo for the virgin. And Mary wasn't a virgin. Mary got knocked up before she got knocked up. Plus, in the Greek, it was a mistranslation. It's just supposed to mean young woman. It wasn't supposed to mean virgin. The Greek mistranslated that. Now, y'all gonna get into the astrotheology. You're gonna go beyond my realm. I can only go so far in the astrotheology. And the constellation, the names of the constellation change and all that kind of stuff. You said 13 is daughter Dinah, Ophiuchus constellation. Well, she got a bad rap in the story. A whole point of her being born was just so she can get raped and they can commit some genocide on some other people. But proof. So my man here is talking about the Old Testament, right? I want y'all to think about something. I know y'all talking about astrotheology over there in YouTube land, right? I get it. But I want y'all to think about this for a second. You got 12 tribes you got Abraham bought some land. It was very specific. I can't remember exactly, but from an Elamite. And he bought some specific land, a tract of land that's described. Israel ain't but, that big. It's a little bit of a country. But he bought a specific tract of land. Abraham buried there. Sarah buried there. Isaac buried there. Rachel. Is it Rachel? Isaac had what? Rebecca, I think. Had Rebecca. She buried there. Then you've got your boy Jacob. Leah is buried there. Jacob is buried there. Because remember they said, take my bones and bring them back so they can be buried there. Remember, Rachel didn't get to be buried there. I think she was buried somewhere else. So you got at least about 8 people that's supposed to be buried in this family grave who's supposed to be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph. Joseph was supposed to be buried there too. And then you got a couple of wives who made the cut. Why they can't find it? How is it not marked? Of all the graves of the Old Testament that they should be able to find, they should be able to find that one. But they can't because it doesn't exist. Rachel was the mother of Joseph and Benjamin. Okay. Right. So Rachel was Jacob's wife, one of Jacob's wives. So where is that grave? If you wanted to prove Judaism, the Abrahamic religions, where's that grave? That grave should be found. They should have found that grave by now. I mean, hell, you've had, thousands of years of ruling that area. You should know where that grave is at. It should be one of the most visited holy sites in the world, because you would have all three Abrahamics going to visit that site. But in each time I've been to Israel, I've never seen that site. It's never been on the map. It wasn't on the tourist map. Where's that site at? Where is it? And has anybody in here been to Israel? Has anybody been to Israel to see the bullshit of where they say Jesus is buried? I mean, Jesus is buried and the crucifixion. You've been to the church that they built on top of Mount Calvary. Anybody been there? Because I don't want y'all to believe me. I want to have some backup. What your Bible say? You need 3 people or 2 people or something saying the same thing? Oh yeah. I'm gonna give y'all time to see who been there. My UPS man just pulled up, got some cigars. I'll unlock my door so when he come in. But yeah, who's been to Israel? You been to Bethlehem? All right. So when you've been to Bethlehem, so I'm assuming, Glenda, you went to the church that they built on top of what was the house of Joseph's family. And they showed you that a manger was actually the bottom basement of the house where they kept the small animals so that they at night in the cold. Hold on, y'all. Good morning, young lady. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right. You know I'm not known here till noon. Actually, I've been doing these videos. I've been here.
All right.
Just on Mondays, I might not be here till noon.
All right.
Sometimes Friday.
Well, I see you got the setup.
Yeah, I'm just talking trash right now.
Well, you have a great day.
You have a good one too. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye. All right. So, Bethlehem. You know, they always told you that story and they had you believing that there was no room in the inn, right? Well, the inn was, then they make you think that the inn was a hotel and that all the people in the town was being so very mean to Mary and them. When the truth of the fact is that they was having a census, according to the story. And that census was being done because Herod had died. I want y'all to think about that. The census was being done because Herod had already died, and Governor Quintius came down to count the people so that he can affix the proper taxation to Herod's estate. And this is when Mary was supposed to be pregnant. No room in the inn. When a woman has a baby, that room is unclean for 8 days. Imagine having a family reunion. You got everybody in there. There's no room for somebody to have a room for 8 days by themselves. So therefore, Mary had to go downstairs in the basement and have the baby, because that area is already considered unclean. So they fill your head with ridiculousness. But it's I was like, okay, if that was a lie that I've been told my whole life, what else have they been telling me that's not right? Yep. Oh, I got a picture, and see, this was at that time frame, y'all, when I was begging and pleading and like, please, God. I had my cross-color jacket on. Yes. I remember this vividly. I had my cross-color jacket on when it was my turn to get down there. I kneeled down by that little spot, and I was praying. I was just like, God, just, I need you to let me know, show me that this is that Christianity is the way. I was down. I was crying, the whole thing. The picture don't show me crying, but I was crying the whole deal. Got a picture of me up by I think I took. No, you can't take pictures by the Wailing Wall, but I went up to the Wailing Wall. I wrote it in there like, please, God, show me the way. You know, most people writing stuff like, let my marriage last forever, or give me long life, or I want to be rich, or pray for my sick person. This I wrote on that little piece of paper, you know, show me that Christianity is the right religion, and stuck that shit in that wall. When I came back the next year, I put the same one in there. I was serious business about it. But when those people say, just give yourself to God and he'll reveal himself to you. Did it. Been revealed. Christianity, Jesus, Genesis, fake news. Fake as all get out. You wanted to be rich, that was your wish. I might have came back a second time. I think I did on the second one, put 2 pieces of paper in there. And I think wealth had something to do with the second time. Oh my God, you know, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff, my guy. Dennis Brothers, yeah, that was the trick he put on. Oh, y'all all into the astrotheology over here. And admittedly, that is not a strong suit for me. I know some basic, decent stuff. That's about it. You know what? He better not be coming over here. That better be somebody else. I'm gonna start parking my car, bike behind the building. But you know, I had suspected that by now there would be some angry Christians on Facebook or you on TikTok who would want to get up here and prove their Christianities. But we just don't see that. And another thing that people have been, for some reason, oh, you go against Christianity, but you wearing the Unk. You wearing another religion. And one dude was trying to convince me that the Unk doesn't represent the balance between the masculine and feminine energy, or continuation of extending the life of a vibration of a frequency, is what I explained to him. And you're like, that's not what it means. But yet, I said, well, what does it mean then? And that's the thing. They can never tell you. They'll say you're wrong, you're lying, you're following this, that, and the third, but they can never give you an answer or explain anything. All they'll say is, you just got to believe in Jesus, have faith, because they can't prove it. You cannot prove any of your religions. You know, I'm waiting on them. It's kind of cloudy outside, even though it's supposed to be a sunshiny day. I rode my motorcycle. I don't think my old man crew gonna be here until probably 2 o'clock. And because I said that, they'll probably be here at 1 or 12. But I'm ready. Got a little workout in this morning because of your boy getting fat. I'm ready. And y'all are over. What y'all talking about? All right, so, you know, what else we got? Also about Shechem, his father Hamor is described as Hermes, and Shechem, and y'all are into a whole conversation. Asherah and Morningstar, they having them a whole big old conversation. I don't mind. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind. They having them a whole big conversation. I'm gonna let them have a conversation on YouTube, especially because they're a little bit outside of my realm, as well, when speaking about all the astrotheology. I know me and Glenda can't be the only people who've been to Israel. Some of y'all been to Israel, haven't y'all? You know what? Let me take that back. That is very possible, because I remember my my pappy, right? Now he knew that I wasn't within Christian. I had, left Christianity, but I had told him, I said, I want to take you to Israel. You believe in the Christianity. I want to take you to Israel. I said, but it was weird. He told me, he was like, I'm too old to go. And I said, no, you're not too old to go. I said, trust me, when I got there, it was people on them little, you know, them little scooters getting around, old people all over there, right? And he finally admitted, I don't want to go because with it being just in my mind, it's wonderful. I don't want to get there and be disappointed. Now, before then, I never told him some of my personal experiences of being disappointed. But then, you know, after he said that, I told him, I said, you know what, you might be disappointed because you're going to realize there that some of the things that you've been taught were incorrect. Because he was already mad at me. He had been mad at me like a few months earlier because I told him that it was a misteaching that rich people go to hell. And he realized that oftentimes when he had opportunities to invest in certain things that became highly profitable, that he didn't because he didn't want to get rich. He just wanted to have enough. Because if you get rich, you go to hell. That was his belief of his teachings. You know, mind you, my pappy was born in 1927 in the South. So he was taught that rich people go to hell. Camel can't go through the eye of a needle, right? So rich people go to hell. That was his teaching. So when he was living here in Atlanta and he had an opportunity to invest in this place called the Galleria in Cobb County, he didn't because he didn't want to become rich. When he had the opportunity to invest in Barrett Parkway, which they built that, he had the opportunity to buy that land. He didn't buy it because he knew that they were coming in to redo all that area. He didn't get involved in it because he became rich. So I understood why he didn't want to go to Israel, because he already was thinking differently, a little bit differently than what he grew up on. He didn't want to lose his whole connection. And at 70 something years old, he was definitely afraid of losing it. So I can understand some people not wanting to go to Israel. But if you've deconstructed, going to Israel, if you already don't have a nail in the coffin, go to Israel. You'll burn that motherfucking coffin up when you see the bullshit of what they're claiming to be the reality. Ooh. Ashra says plan on moving there eventually to help in the struggle for secularizing and trying to fix the corrupt and hawkish government. But my role in showing how the Bible is a mythological text and how and it stopped. And how Israel today doesn't follow any of his own law from the Torah. It's a different people practically. That's a big mission, actually, but one to be taken. One to be taken. You know, the government over there is very oppressive, especially to the Palestinians. God gave one person the inspiration to write a book that the whole world should follow. How convenient, exactly. Okay, if the government of Rome hadn't taken on Christianity, then Christianity would have just been another small religion that lived and died, and nobody paid attention. Everybody would be calling it the myth of Christians. The Christian myth is what it will be called. Oh, that's not you talking. Wait a minute. Ashra, you said that you plan on going over there. That's Ashra. I know I added the other part. Israel today doesn't follow out right. That was Morningstar. Y'all picture looks similar enough that when I don't have my glasses on, I think I'm talking to the same person. But I got you. Right. I read Morningstar. I read yours first about you planning on going over there. Oh, you want to show how Israel was originally inseparable from the Phoenicians and the Assyrians? Yes, they were. I was just talking to a gentleman yesterday, and I was explaining to him how the Phoenicians, like Canaanite, is an umbrella name in reality. You know, to be Canaanite, it is like to say to be African. or to be European, or to be Asian. But then within it, there are differences. Like, did y'all know that people from India are considered, they are Asian? Anytime you say Asian, people from India is hardly ever what comes to mind. But they're Asian. That's what Indian people claim. They're Asian. The Phoenicians and the Hebrew are Canaanite. They're not separated. Then they separate them. They are all the same, and then they created ways of separating themselves. But they're no different. It's just like the Punic people, the are originally were Phoenicians. There were multiple temples. Yep. I especially love the temple where it has the Asherah pole. You definitely have to go there where you can see that they worship Yahweh and his wife Asherah. It's comical that anyone who displayed power in the Bible also visited and lived in Egypt for a period of time. Even Jesus went to Egypt. That's because Egypt was teaching alchemy. They were teaching the hermetics. That's why Pythagoras waited 20 years to get in and then stayed there for 20 years and then took that back to Croton and started the Pythagoreans. Right. Multiple gods were worshipped in the Jerusalem temple. Look, Hebrew people they didn't just come out and they were just monotheistic from day one. Them people, they worship multiple gods. And I think it was Hezekiah or Josiah, when they did their edits of the Bible, of the Torah, they was like, no longer shall we worship Baal. Well, and then they got rid of Asherah as his wife and made her into a stick. They used to worship multiple gods. The older temples in Egypt, Israel, show you that they worship multiple gods. This is very interesting. I just knew I was gonna get some debate today. Ain't y'all disappointed? I'm disappointed a little bit. I just knew they was gonna come on here. I was waiting on them. I knew they was coming. It's like, it's funny. You know what it is? They like to come at you behind text. Hebrews worship multiple gods until Moses. No, 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 no. Moses supposedly would have been, see, that would have happened. Moses supposedly would have been going around in the late 1400s, early 1300s BCE. They still worship multiple gods up until the 500s BCE. It wasn't because of Moses. It was the telling of a Moses story that was used, because recognize, Donna, that the Job was the first book that was written. Genesis and the other books, Genesis and the other books of the other 5 books that are attributed to Moses, weren't written until after the Babylonian captivity. And it was written because it was at that point that they wanted to go over to monotheism. Well, go to monotheism because they had lost the fact that I am more apt to go with that, because Hebrews aren't mentioned historically until the Menethus Stele, that they were a people who worshiped the Octen, who then left Egypt, went to the Levant. They worshiped the Octen, but again, then got mixed in with the other Canaanite people, and then they forgot that they worshiped the Octen. They had began worshiping Yahweh and El and Baal and all of them people, and then they came back to a monotheism because the person who released them from the Babylonian captivity, which was Darius, was a Zoroastrian who believed in monotheism of the worship of Ahura Mazda. which is why you find some similarities between the Zoroastrianism and Judaism as well. I'm not saying that's because of Moses, but written after. I'm not saying that it was. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, my bad. But yes, so they had two periods of monotheism. One debatable, one not. Debatable one is that they came from the people of the Octane. Non-debatable, it wasn't until after the Babylonian captivity that they started worshiping one God. So they had only been worshiping a one God thought process for about 500 years before you're supposed to get your Jesus character. And then, if you've seen some of my other videos, Jesus, that was Vespasian using the coming Messiah rhetoric in order to validate himself to become the emperor of Rome and to become part of the imperial religion. And then later on, it actually caught fire and people started worshiping and believing that those stories actually happened and attributed them. Originally, it was attributed to Vespasian, but then it became attributed to the Jesus character. Let's see. Connected to Octane, maybe, who knows, it's already mysterious. Yeah, it's if it wasn't for finding the tomb of Ramoses, and with the Ramoses tomb telling the story of how the worshippers of the Octane after Akhenaten had been disposed of, fought Tutankhamun on the Red Sea, supposedly lost, but made their way across the Red Sea into the Sinai Peninsula and then crossed over into the Levant. If there wasn't that information, I would not connect it to the Octane. Right. I wouldn't at all. And yet, all these religions are, I like you said, OFC, it was all political. OFC. I don't know what OFC means. I don't speak shorthand text that well, so I don't know what OFC means. Teach me something, Donna. I always found that one aspect of what you're saying actually interesting. He said that interestingly, Jacob and later Moses carried ritual acacia or maybe Asherah trees with them to and from Egypt and Canaan. Also, later Moses was told by Yahweh to build a bronze serpent to and look for it for, I think that's supposed to be a medical building, right? But I know they built the bronze serpent in order to heal people who were bitten by these other serpents. Acacia wood, I found out, was very plentiful in the Sinai Peninsula. So it's probably acacia wood. But isn't it funny how they villainized the serpent, but it was a serpent that was used in order to heal the people when they was bitten by the vipers. But anybody today, serpents are evil, evil, evil. And that's why they fake throw the serpent in as Satan. I don't want a snake. I don't like snakes, but I understand the symbology of a snake. Constantine declared Christianity over paganism as a political move to unite. Actually, historically, Constantine didn't actually claim to be Christian nor ever became Christian. He was baptized after he died by the order of his mother. His mother became Christian. He just needed to keep the Roman Empire from splitting, as Vespasian was called in to keep it from splitting because of all the Jewish revolts. So he saw the similarity between the Jewish revolts and all the Christians fighting each other over which version of Christianity in the 300s was correct. And they were literally becoming violent with one another. So that's why he went and did the Edict of Milan. And he retold the story of the battle at the Moldavian Bridge against Maxentius but he changed the narrative. The first battle, he said nothing about seeing anything in the sky, and you know, Sol Invictus or Jesus visiting him in his tent. He said he told that in Milan. So that's why when you can read, if you're, it'll take a while. Now it's even more difficult now than it was 30 years ago when I put in to go and look at Eusebius's writings at the Vatican. But that's why there's a difference when you look at the 13. When you look at the writing at the Moldovan Bridge and you look at Eusebius' writings in Milan, they're different because he added those things. He was just trying to control Christianity so it wouldn't break out into this fight. And so he made it legal, to be Christian, thinking that would quell the argument, but it didn't. So then that's why he had to come back and have the Council of Nicaea in order for them to organize Christianity under one brand so that they can maybe stop all the fighting. So he still worshiped Mithra and Apollo, especially Apollo, his entire life. But his mother became Christian. So after he died, his mother had him baptized. And then his mother was the main person who was given money to turn a lot of the paganism, and I hate using the term pagan, turn a lot of the other temples into Christian temples. That's why these churches, you go to Rome, a lot of these churches got devil's keyholes, and they got depictions of other deities all in them. Oh, so we're in agreement. I guess I should have read that, and then I wouldn't have went through all that, right? Oh. See, this is why I hate text. Don't always understand what the person is saying. So, but thank you for. I like the fact that the people who come in here, they got enough sense to be like, okay, he misunderstood. Let me feed him a little bit differently. Either that or Oklahoma fried chicken. I don't know what y'all talking. Oh, OFC is of course. Oh, so let me see how does that work with what she said? Because I'm learning some text. Of course. Oh, of course it was all political. Gotcha. Then learned something. Then learned something today. And don't put up a lot of faith in records of history since it's updated just about every decade. The stars, however, move on a predictable pattern. That's true. But this is why I read the for and against of most things. I read the for and against because if you read the for and against, then you make up your own mind in which one has the most validity. And nothing is going to be 100%. It's always going to have a perspective slant to it. Serpent is synonymous with the dragon Draco, known as the Way Shore, holding all the pole stars. Didn't know that. I don't know who the dragon Draco is. He was the one that's guard the golden apples in the Greek mythology. Yes, I didn't know that was his name. I knew there was a dragon that was supposed to guard the golden apples, but I didn't know the name. Okay, learn something else new today. Maybe that's what today is. Y'all teaching me some stuff. I know what OFC mean in text. I'm going to use that all the time. I'm one of those people, if I text you, I'm going to text you like the long word every dang on time. It's unlikely that most of the time I don't use shorthand unless I'm rushing. But isn't it? You know, an interesting thing. I saw this video a while back. They talking about serpents over here on YouTube. And it was an interesting thing that somebody had did a video saying that if you notice the countries that uses the emblem of an eagle, they are more warlike. But the countries that use the serpent are more peaceful, more diplomatic people. But usually the eagle countries are always trying to conquer or at war or at odds with the serpent countries. And I think in the video, the guy was saying that the eagle was a representation of in Leo, and the serpent was Inky. And that's why they were fighting each other all the time, because the two brothers were always fighting each other, which is a popular motif in all of history. Two brothers always get into an argument and fighting each other. It's always about two damn brothers. Even Rome started out with two brothers. It's always two brothers. Most mythologies, there is a two brother issue that comes along at some time frame. But if anybody else ever heard of that with the eagle and the serpent, and I think the flag of Mexico has a eagle clasping a serpent or something like that. The serpent is the chthonic goddess, and the eagle is the Uranic imperial war god. I might need to have Asher on here, because Asher knows a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know. Because he's been going astrotheology, him, Asher, and Morningstar. We need to get y'all up and y'all learn us some stuff. Schedule up to be on like a Zoom call, and then we just do, and we live it on Facebook. Well, we can shoot that live and send it through on on YouTube. Yeah, y'all should hit me up on the back end. Give me your information, because that's something that I would like to start doing as well. Bring in people who know things about subject matters that I don't really study, and we all continue to grow that way. The States have an eagle, the UK has a lion, the Russians have a bear. Yep, they're always trying to attack somebody, always trying to kill people. I heard that the theory and the winged dragon is the synthesis. Oh, that would be interesting, that the winged dragon is the synthesis of both the eagle and the, but see, eagle and the serpent. But dragons have been around in China for longer than any of these books that have been written. And dragons meant wisdom, I think, to them, wisdom and courage and honor, and was a protector. Yeah, and also notice that the curse of the serpent is to crawl on his belly. Why is that the curse of it wasn't already? Because it didn't just have arms but wings. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of I've seen people. Some people have drawn the serpent. Some artists back in the Middle Ages, Renaissance, they drew pictures of the serpent with wings and arms and legs, so more like a dragon. You're from Wales, and dragons were protectors. Oh, I've been to Wales. I was in the Marine Corps station in Germany, so I had opportunities to go up there. Beautiful countryside in the spring, when it's warm. I hate the cold, so nowhere is beautiful in the cold unless it's on TV or it's on top of a mountain. I'm sitting in the valley. But she's from Wales. The cherubim angelic realm have 4 faces: eagle, man, goat, and lion. I know you meant goat. It says boat and lion. Like they had a boat face. I know you meant goat. That spell check is a beast. Oh, you're American. Okay. And it's funny you mentioned the cherubim. I showed some Christians a picture of a cherubim once, and I said, if the cherubim was a walk or boar, gotcha. If a cherubim walked through this door right now, but cherubim supposed to be on your side, on your godly side, what would you do? Every last one of them jokers said they'll run out the back door. Why are you running from what was supposed to be the goodness of your deity? All right, that doesn't make sense. You believe in this book. If you see a cherubim, you should not run. You should do like Abraham and all of them did when they say they saw an angel of the Lord. They knelt down and, all that kind of stuff. Why shouldn't they be doing that? Because they should. I guess DT's answer to you can't prove Christianity, Jesus, or Genesis is cross heart, cross heart, cross heart. I'm not even going to try to think about what that may mean. I have my own opinion, but I speak of the English, not pictograph. Although I'm learning Spanish, I suck at it, but I'm learning it. What's up, Lorenzo Gatlin? I almost like you because my name is Larenzo. I just figured. I'm gonna stop saying that. They don't want to come on here and try to prove it. There is no, and you know why they don't want to come over here and try to prove it? Because they know that there is no proof. But I will say, I'm a little irritated because on any other time I can be scrolling through like TikTok and somebody talking about you can't prove Jesus and all them, and people, they jump to the opportunity. I'm gonna go ahead and be an ass about it. Maybe they scared of me. Maybe they've seen too many of my videos and they're too scared to come on here and try to prove it. So because cherubim are warrior angels, and the same angels exist in religions worldwide, and they do. The same type of warrior angel, angelic type beings exist in every religion. But my point to those guys in here who were Christian was that even if it's a war angel, it is still an angel that has sided with the deity that you worship. So therefore, you should be cool with that deity. If a joker come in and got wheels on wheels with a bunch of eyes, you should be cool with that and be like, oh, I recognize that because that's in my Bible. That's a good angel, and should not be afraid to the point where they run. And that was my whole thing. If you truly believe in this, when that kind of thing happens, you shouldn't jump straight to fear, because your fear is really a demonstration that you don't believe in this. And when it comes down to it, you don't. So if a cherubim walked in here and it looked like the cherubim, I got questions. That's all. It's question time. Because I'm gonna be like, look, this Bible, this can't be right? I need you to, this ain't right. Because if you do exist, cherubim, I know this cannot be right. So I need to know what the real is. You'd probably be like, well, I'm from we're from the Pleiades, actually. Or we're from the stars, we're from Sirius B, the third and fourth planet that revolves around Sirius B is where we're actually from. We originally came and spoke to your ancestors, the Dogons. That's what my expectation is going to be. That they're going to tell me about how they come from some other dimension or some other planet. But I'm not going to expect them to say that, oh, yeah, this is real. Probably like, nah, we just told them that we were guys and we really weren't. It says so much of pure primal confusion and fear as evident of these psychedelic memes that riff. And I get the initial response would be like, oh shit, I get that. Maybe I'm just different, but I do get it. But maybe I'm just different. Maybe I just, the strange and unexplained doesn't scare me. I mean, let me not say it doesn't scare me. I'm gonna have some anxiety. I'm gonna have some, oh shit. Whoo! All right now. But I'm not running. Because when you run, you turn your back on the thing and the thing might attack you. You don't know how fast that thing is. And I'd rather face you forward than face you back with my back. But the other part is, if you that powerful sentient, my running ain't gonna help. So I might as well try to see if we can get a dialogue going here. If you believe in it that they were created by God, you shouldn't run from it. I'm not finding anything that has made this rock we are on a better place. Beaches. Nice, calm beach away from everybody. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Sitting in the mountains next to a waterfall away from everybody. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But overall, no, humans have messed up this planet. Aliens are real. My mom was ET's side chick. Morning stars. I personally am of the impression that those angelic visions were written under the influence of multiple possible substances. No, I do think that some of the, I agree. I think there was on some psychedelic journeys on a lot of them. You know, I'm not advocating for anybody to go on a psychedelic journey, but I've been on plenty of them. I've been on a few of them myself, and I ain't reached plenty yet. I got to have a few more before I can see you turn plenty. But I've been on a few of them myself, and definitely on one of them, I went to go see the aliens in different dimensions and in different star systems. I saw them. They showed me some things, you know, and I can write about them, and I could claim that they were divine and visions from God. You know, to see all these, I saw like a bunch of different alien civilizations and the alien that lived in that civilization. It's like I'm standing back and there's the whole planet, or I'm in a major city of the planet and I'm seeing the technology. And then here's this hooded creature, and its face comes in as for what being lives in that system, and then it will fade away as the land mass or the planet will fade away, and then I like wormhole travel to another one, and then the being comes out, and then here's the civilization. There you go. Sorry about that. Gotcha. This microphone died on me. But I was saying that on some of my own psychedelics, and I believe that these people did experience some psychedelic visions. That that's what some of those things were. Right. Psychedelics can give anyone dreams and vision. They can appear as whatever they want. Right. And I think a lot of it is what you have within yourself. Depending on who you are, will determine what type of event that you have. Went through the blue light paralysis in Alaska while pregnant with me. Dad also was fascinated with dragons. I don't know what the blue light paralysis. What is that? Tell us more, because that would be. I've never heard of that before. You don't have to answer that. I just know it's a miracle. Oh, DMT. Oh, dimethyltryptamine. Your brain automatically produces DMT. That's one of the compounds in your brain that allows you to dream, right? And to dream and have visions. Uh, I think it's believed that it's secreted from your pineal gland, but you have that when you know, the other, you have that naturally, but not in heavy doses. Now, it is said that when you um, die, when people have had near death experiences, or at the moment of actual death of this body, your brain washes over with DMT, with a huge amount of DMT is released into your brain. Not washes over, but a huge amount of DMT is released in your brain. And which could be a mechanism that causes your consciousness to be freed from this body at death. But people who have near death experiences, they got all that DMT hidden. So they are literally on a psychedelic journey. And I do notice that if you believe that you're going to, going to hell, or you're going to heaven, or you're going somewhere else, that whatever's in your mind, your true subconscious mind, is what you're going to initially experience. And that is like when we went through the Tibetan Book of the Dead, There's always a portion of you coming to realization of what's going on as to what happened, what actually will happen. Okay, he telling us what the blue light paralysis. My dad told the story. He said they were in bed when the room was filled with blue light and he could only move his eyes. He then said that mom rolled over and started speaking a different language in his ear. She stopped after a time and the blue light disappeared and he could move again. And that's why everybody's experience is different from sackcloth. Okay, so that's the blue light experience. I will tell you this. On one of my, not the last shroom trip, but the one before that, I start speaking a different language that doesn't exist on Earth to what we know it. I ain't gonna tell y'all what I said because it's not for y'all right now. It's not for revelation right now. There's a difference between dreams and messages from the divine. Yeah, but how would you know? How would you know? Oh, psychic paralysis. That's what I guess that's the blue light. The blue light paralysis. That's what he was saying. I didn't know what it meant, but thank y'all for letting me know. What do you think of the 444,000 ancestors, elders? I think it's made up by the Bible. I don't. The 144,000 is just a way of trying to me, what is validating the 12 is trying to connect the 12 tribes of Israel from the Old Testament to Revelations, to the end times. And because they thought the end time was going to happen before they died back in their day, when so-called John of Patmos wrote it, he was looking at the low number of population that they had of people who practiced, the way. They were Christians. So 144,000. Then that was later on adopted by the Jehovah's Witness to be their deal when they were below 144,000. Then they had to change their religion, their doctrine rather, to fit a higher population. I think if John of Patmos knew that we would have 8 billion people on the planet at any time frame of any point, that number would actually be more like 1,444,000,000. So I don't think it has any relevance other than trying to connect the 12 tribes of Israel to the current times of the book of Revelation being written based on the number of people, the population of that time in that specific area. Because at that time in that specific area, 144,000 Christians would have been a lot. That would have been like this huge number to them. Where now 144,000, that's what, a small town. If you were in a dream and no one can hear you, you're talking to someone that has passed. I know because I'm psychic. Psychic when your soul leaves and returns to your body. Well, not just psychic paralysis. I mean, I've astro traveled plenty of times. I can self-induce astro travel. Even while awake. I don't do it that often, but I can. I can tell the difference between a regular dream and when my frequency is hitting at a whole new level. I can tell the difference between those. When my frequency is actually connecting either to other people's frequencies or other beings' frequencies or other frequencies to universal frequencies. Like I literally felt earthquakes in certain areas of the planet and was a part of the earthquake exactly when it happened. and knew the area and saw the area and felt the earthquake. So there's a lot of room for other things. But as far as speaking to the divine, the only thing, the all. So on Thursdays, we are going through the Kabbalion. And as we go through the Kabbalion, it is the depiction of what I say the God, for lack of a better term, but the all is. It is not this intrusive being, but we exist as a thought of the all inside of the mind, the intelligent mind of the all. There is, even though I say we have a divine soul, in truth, there is no separation between our energy, our spirit, and the energy and spirit of the universe. It is all divine. There is nothing that is not divine. But connecting to the frequency of the pure all, I don't think anybody has the capacity nor capability to truly connect to what anyone would call God. You're just getting a higher we will call divine when we are connecting to just a higher spiritual plane, dimensional plane than what we are used to or accustomed to, and we'll give it to a divinity. When it's just like, let's say we are existing right now in the third dimension, and there's a 15th dimension, but we're used to about the third, fourth, fifth dimension. If you connected to that 13th, 15th dimension, it will be so out there, so pure. You would think you're connecting to the divine when there's like millions of dimensional planes. I'm the leader of the 144,000. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in reincarnation to a certain extent as well. You're the leader of the 144,000, though. That's okay. A back tune is 360 years. Oh, wait. I'm not missing stuff. TNT. Oh, I hate when I try to scroll on Facebook because it does not act right. I'm going to miss some stuff on Facebook because it don't act right when I try to scroll on there. It's awesome. Okay. Good question, Paul. We get Paul on here one time as well. I like most of his questions. Are poor children starving in Africa connected to the divine? First thing, that whole poor children starving in Africa is a huge misnomer. A lot of those things were faked, all to be damned. In today's world. Now, was there a time frame when that shit was more real? Sure. There are poor children starving everywhere, every country. I've been to Russia. I've been to Croatia. I've been to Germany. I've been all over the place, and people starve. Starvation, that's more humans. See, I understand what you're saying, Paul. I think everybody can be connected to higher dimensional planes. Nothing is connected to the divine. Everything, every frequency is divine, would be considered divine because every frequency is in the mind of the all. What I'm saying is trying to connect starving children and connected to the divine actually has absolutely nothing to do with each other. There are starving children because we make poor decisions. Not the children make poor decisions. I'm talking about as a community of walking around in this matter plane of existence. We make decisions to not share resources and take care of each other. We have parents who make poor decisions and are unable to feed each other. We have governments that make poor decisions or power directed decisions to keep people oppressed, which puts people in a position so that they cannot take care of themselves. Starvation and being connected to frequencies have nothing to do with each other. That's just people being assholes towards other people. Your soul is part of God to a certain extent. We went over this when we was going through the Kabbalion. Everything is of the mental frequency, is a mental projection of the all, but everything is not the all. Like the all can never not know it's the all. That's why you cannot be, can you consider yourself, I am part of God. No, you are a frequency of the imagination of a deity. That's it. But you're not that deity. You're not even connected to that deity where you know, because otherwise you wouldn't know that you are. Your all can now never not know itself, nor never be separated from itself. And I don't think God has any deity that has a will for us that creates war and confusion and rapes and murders and all that. Is not a good God. It's not a God that I would ever even consider to be the God. Putin is 144,000 years old. Everything is a frequency. Everything is energy, Paul. Everything is energy. And all energy does is transmute from one form to another form. Everything is connected. Everything is connected and everything is on different planes. Everything is on you. So for instance, like when you just think about mental abilities or consciousness, you have the plant mind, you have the animal mind, you have the human mind, and then there are higher dimensional minds above that we don't know of. All right. So but all are connected and all can affect each other, you know, based on their mind. Jump into a pen, mess around with a cow, and get kicked. No, I just been asked about that one. But I mean, you can. I mean, it can affect you. But yes, all is energy. Everything is energy. Okay, if you don't get my point by now, Paul, because I'm not going to go through every we're dinosaurs, we're cows, we're whatever. That becomes redundant. I've made the point. Everything is energy. Everything is connected. Plain and simple. Simple as that. The wind is connected to the water. In the future, spoken speech is gone. It's all telepathic. That would be good, but maybe scary. Don't necessarily know. If I want to receive everybody's thoughts, got to be able to have some controls on that. I've seen that one before. Energy is energy. Energy equals energy. Emotions making emotions. All right. I understand that Paul wants everything to be atheistic and scientific, but science don't know everything. There are gaps in every point of view. There are gaps of where a person just has to say, "I don't know." We'll find out later. There will be more discoveries, both on the spiritual side, the mind side, the scientific side. There'll be more discoveries. Right now, but even when you discover more, there will still be even more that you don't know. Are wormholes passageways to travel and fold space? Don't know. It's theorized. Till somebody does it, we don't know. So it's a theory. Are there higher conscious minds? Well, since there are higher conscious minds on Earth, there the assumption would be that the estimate would be, the hypothesis would be, that there are higher conscious minds beyond the matter plane. But we ain't gonna know till it happens. I don't know. I don't know is the atheist motto. It's my motto as well, to a certain extent. I know every time I learn something, it makes me realize how much I don't know. Every time. Learn even the simplest thing. Like I didn't know what OFC meant, but I learned it. Now I know what it means, of course. Or Oklahoma fried chicken. But uh, I've never claimed to know everything, nor can anybody ever claim to know anything and to be absolute. As far as life after death, especially life after death, don't nobody know. Don't nobody know. And a near-death experience is near death, is not death. Die, get some proof, come on back. Then tell me. Then tell me. Otherwise, after death, as far as I'm concerned, it's gonna be whatever I choose for it to be. And I think that we do have that ability to choose it. No God or deity or book or any of those things will choose for me what happens when my consciousness leaves this meat suit. I'm going to make the choice as to what it is. I train my mind right now to be able to recognize the difference between reality and non-reality when I'm in dream states, when I'm in that. Not my whole reason for experimenting with shroom trips is one, it's just it is there's a part of it that's just fun. But the main purpose for me is to train my mind to be able to recognize reality, to recognize different frequencies, so that when this body dies and this brain get washed with, well, gets a huge DMT dump in it, I am not walking around fearful. Because when you do listen to people in their near-death experience and they have all that DMT hitting their brain, or people who do psychedelic trips and they start getting anxiety and fear and all these kinds of things. And when you read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's that anxiety and fear that makes people miss the opportunity to not come back here, and they wind up coming back to a womb. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm training this mind to recognize those things, to be able to go through them without fear, so I can recognize and say, I'm going into the white light, as they say when they see that light behind me on the TV. But some of y'all who are TikTok, you ain't gonna be able to see this well. It's a person walking into the white triangle light through an eye. That's the plan. Um, oh, thank you, Morningstar. Appreciate that. Morningstar said I was a good host. I tried until just as long as somebody don't rub me the wrong way, then I get a little haywire. You're allowed to debate, so we'll share how we develop. I promise you, for these abilities acquire fingers stretching back and spread apart. We develop every part of your palm. My dad was a living poltergeist. He could spin a pop can with just a thought and see the dead return as spirits as they return spirit. He lost the ability to move stuff. Man, I work on that every day. I need you to ask your dad, or if you already know, what's the pathway to um, moving shit with your mind? Because I be look, my lady be tripping on me sometimes. Because I be like, let's say I wanted that ashtray. I'm like, okay, we are in. Come on, the energy of the ashtray. We are in agreement. Move your atoms faster and faster so that you become lighter than air, or come over here. Or there's some like invisible cord that scoops up, or my hand extends. The energy of my hand extends and picks you up and moves you over to. I be doing all kind of things trying to move the goddamn ashtray. I need the pathway. I need the methodology. I won't use it for evil, I promise. I ain't gonna go to the bank and just have the money follow me out the door. Well, that's a pretty good idea. No, that's a bad idea, because then you're easily caught. Thank you, Alvin. Right. Oh, I just told you the hand signs he did. His fingerprints were just ventricle lines. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Let me go back there. All right. So where we at? You're allowed to base. All right. So I will share how to develop the. Oh, I missed that part. I will share how to develop the palmistry so that psychic abilities are acquired. Finger stretch, finger stretch back and spread apart will develop every part of the palm. So you're talking about like that. So fingers stretched and back and spread apart, develop the palmistry. Okay. And I guess all right, I'm gonna work on it. And I know a lot of y'all think I'm crazy and y'all saw me like laugh a little bit. I literally believe, and I have to say believe, because the only time I've seen anything amazing was this one guy who was recording, the guy who used his chi energy to light some shit on fire and he light some paper on fire. But I wasn't there, so I'm trusting in what I saw, what the guy had did on the documentary. And then, but the hospital, the Chinese hospital where they healed that woman of a tumor, and you saw they did the live picture of the sonogram of the tumor. They took the picture right then, and they kept it on the other screen where they had it, and then people were chanting, "I'm in the presence of a healthy woman," in Chinese, in Mandarin, and that tumor just started shrinking, and all those people have been getting themselves together for like a few weeks to do this. You can call it a wanting to believe or just belief that they did it. That's what I saw. Can they do movie magic and all that kind of stuff? Yes, that is possible. And the question is, well, why isn't that mainstream? Do you think I do recognize the evil of man? I'm gonna tell you right now, if Christians, especially who claim that they got this healing power, were to go in churches and just start healing people, I mean, go into hospitals and just start healing people, I guarantee you there'll be a law that'll make that shit illegal for somebody to go into a dang hospital and heal somebody. Because the medical industry is not gonna have it. But I'm gonna work on that, Morning Star. But I'm the type that when it happens, I'll make sure I can prove. I'll prove the shit out of it. I'll go around. I might have to leave America to do it. But like I can, just like you can be empathic and feel somebody's emotions, whether they're with you or they're not around you. And there are other unexplained phenomena of, it's always, we literally joke about how in this lounge we could talk about, it just happened the other day. I was me the day Friday, I think it was Friday. No, it was Thursday, last Thursday. We were sitting here and we was talking about this guy who used to come to the lounge like every day. But we know he moves like 20 minutes away. So it was like, damn, we ain't seen Mo in a while. I want to know what Mo's up to. And we were just thinking about Mo and talking about Mo. And I believe the next day Mo walks in the door. That happens at this lounge all the time. We start talking about certain people that we haven't seen, or just talking about them in general. And if we focus really on talking about them, I believe that they are receiving the alpha waves. It has been shown that your thoughts become frequencies that leave your brain and that you can pick them up. I think that those people pick up on those waves and they come in. Just like, what's my guy? Shit, why his name just fell out of my head. Anyway, my super Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Hadn't seen this joke because he got a new girlfriend about a year ago. Hadn't seen this joke for a while. Then we just started talking about him a lot. And now he been coming back in regularly. I needed a guy who knows how to build hotels and remodel hotels. So for a project that I'm working on. Very next day, the guy walks in. That happens all the time. So the frequency, it's like any scientific experiment. You keep on doing it. And I've done it purposely to see if it works. Like really meditate on a particular person for them to walk in the door. And they walk in the door. Within a day or two, they walk in the door. So for me, I've proven that my mind is strong enough to connect to other people's mind. If the person didn't show up, whenever I do see them, they're like, man, you know what? The other day I was thinking about you. I'm sure y'all all experienced it when you think about somebody and all of a sudden they call you. What about all the time you thought about them and never showed up? And it's a different degree. If we just have, here's what I'm talking about, Paul. I know Paul is like my super skeptic on every damn thing other than what's in front of you. Love him for it too. If I just sit here right now and I just say, you know, we just have like a brief, man, have you seen Mo? No, I ain't seen Mo in a while. I don't know what Mo at. You know he moved to Buford. If it's just that, nah, he'll ever show up. But when we have an in-depth and start reminiscing about, because Mo is a whole nother character. Mo's regular speech pattern, he I don't know where you from, Paul. I don't know if any of y'all from Atlanta or been around Atlanta, but you have a certain group in Atlanta. They from the deck. They true Atlanta, right? Like I'm from Marietta, northern suburb of Atlanta. Mo is from the deck. His speech pattern, Mo is he drop in these little comments, the perfect timing, and have you just falling out. So, but he sound drunk all the time in his speech pattern. And his philosophies on life are very interesting. Mo funny, young guy, real funny. The thing about it, when we have those kind of conversations, getting really in depth and talking, and the focus really is on a person. Then they come in. When we talked about a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, we was talking about, you know, we was talking and really focused in. So it's not like a arbitrary thought. If it was that easy, that'd be great, because I would arbitrarily think about a whole bunch of people in this damn room before all the time. But it was really a focus, you know, not a one-time thought thing. And anytime there's been a real focus, no, there's not been a time that a real focus occurred and the person didn't walk in. Astrology is a tree, but the 12 tribes to the zodiacs. Yep. Oh, here they go with this astro zodiac. They're gonna go out of my realm in a minute. During the age of Pisces. Yep. Jesus was born during the constellation of Virgo, according to the story. All right, develop your third eye, daydreaming. Yeah. See, I don't talk about a lot of those things, Morningstar, because, you know, people get all like, oh, that's that woo-woo stuff. But developing my third eye is something that I've been able to, in my seeing beings and faces and things like that through deep meditation. Some of it is of my own mental creation, and I can tell the difference between my own mental creation and tapping into something else. Because it's one thing to tap into your mental creation when you're sitting there with your eyes closed and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole nother thing to do it when you are being purposeful. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, there was somebody who thought they said that Joe L wanted to come on, but then I tried it, but he didn't come on. It said you couldn't come on for some reason. I don't know if you're still there, Joe L. But spent plenty of time working on my third eye, developing. I'm so curious, and I'm beyond. I ain't say beyond. I've seen a lot on this planet, seen a lot in the matter form universe. That's cool. There's still a lot of things I want to see, but I need to see higher dimensional things. So the curses of Deuteronomy 28 false, are they not describing Black people and their plight? Remove race, define enlightenment. Yeah, I did that one. Divinity is in palmistry, not in skin color. Yeah, I did that one, and that's why I always say that race doesn't exist for me, but I understand in my dealings with lower vibrational humans that I have to deal with it. Right? Now, because if I get pulled over by a cop, I'm trying not to get shot. Deuteronomy 28. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was having a discussion about that one with somebody yesterday. And we was talking about that because he was saying that he believes that black people are the chosen people of God because look at what all we went through and all this, that, and the third. Try some mushrooms. I've been using mushrooms for the last year, almost a year now. I space out my occasions of using them though. But Deuteronomy 28. First thing, let's put everything in perspective. Deuteronomy 28:68 is the main thing where the Hebrew Israelites especially are the primary ones who are saying that is a representation. That is the fulfilled prophecy of the transatlantic slave trade and the 400 years of slavery in America. The first thing that nullifies that entire thing is that Deuteronomy 28:68 did not exist in the Septuagint or the Vulgate, and is not in the Aramaic or that Proto-Hebrew or any other. In that one, it just says that your children will be disobedient, but it says nothing of selling away on slave ships and all of that sort of thing. Now, let's take into it that other translations, and I'm talking about you got to get like more original Septuagint or Vulgate. Now, you have other rewritten Septuagints and Vulgates that do have about them going into slavery, into Egypt, or going to Egypt and trying to sell themselves off as bondmen and women, but there will be no buyers. So let's just take it as face value that it says what it says, that it says that. And then look at the transatlantic slave trade. First of all, it's 400 years. Now, black people were not enslaved in America for 400 years. There's no way. Were we still oppressed under Jim Crow? Yes. Is Jim Crow and slavery the same thing? No, it's not. Both horrible, but not the same. Not even close. What my mother and my grandparents experienced is not as close to what my great grandparents experienced. Okay. When I talked to my grandparents about their experience, or my pappy, who was born in 1927, and he talked about his parents and grandparents and what they experienced under slavery, is completely different from what they experienced under Jim Crow. So the heavily melanated person in the Americas and from Africa did not experience 400 years of slavery. That's nullifies it in itself. Then it says that they will be sold away on ships and they will go to Egypt. Now, because of I don't know if it's because of the article or the non-article. Anyway, the way that Mizraim is written there, it means the literal place Egypt. And they've tried to confuse you by saying that Egypt is America. They flipped the maps. They did all this in the third. No, Egypt was Egypt, where Kemet is right now. So, and Mizraim was not a reference to bondage. It's not an allegory for bondage. And they want to take everything literal, then say Mizraim, that's allegorical. And then everything else is literal after that. Then they will be better off to say that all of it is allegorical, and that would attach better to the transatlantic slave trade than, picking your parts. Then it says that they will go to Mizraim and they will try to sell themselves into slavery, right? But they didn't. Our ancestors did not sell the African ancestors and my American ancestors did not sell themselves into slavery. They were sold by someone else or taken by someone else. They didn't try to sell themselves. So there's a difference between, okay, if the Dahomey had conquered, one of my family's tribe, if the Dahomey sold them, that's not them selling themselves. They lost in battle and then they became captured, POWs, and then they were sold. That's not them selling themselves. And it specifically says they will sell themselves. So no, it's not. And then it says there will be no buyers. there were plenty of buyers in the Caribbean, in South America, in Central America, and North America. And in Europe. Because remember, the first beginnings of the transatlantic slave trade began around 1450. Was it 1450 or 1435? Somewhere around in that time frame, 1435, 30s, 1450s. And those first ones were going to Europe. And then some were sold to the Arab nations. So let me not skip them out. Some were sold to the Arab nations, but they went to Europe. My father's family was sold first in Europe, in Gaeta, Italy. And then from Gaeta, they were sold, another family member that my father direct line was sold up into England. And then from England into Scotland, and then from Scotland over into Ohio, and then from Ohio down into Georgia. So my father's family had a trip. They went around, they went in a big circle. And my mother's family was sold directly from the Yoruba tribe, into Georgia. So they didn't sell themselves in the sense of the individual person trying to sell themselves, asking someone to buy them. They were sold by others. Therefore, Deuteronomy 28:68 does not work. Doesn't work at all. And yet, the Moors did sell some, was a part of the trade. They were more part of the trans-Sahara slave trade than they actually were of the transatlantic. They did participate in the transatlantic as well. A little bit of everybody did. Africans participated in the transatlantic. Moors did. Jews did. Anglo-Saxons did. Europeans did. Everybody did. Even the natives over here. The Seminoles, the Creek, the Chickasaw. I forgot the other two. Those native tribes, they bought African slaves, and they sold some of their own people as slaves. They did both. And it's actually the Juneteenth thing. There were still slaves in the Creek Nation, and in the Cherokee Nation, and the Seminole Nation after June 19th in Texas. Was that June 19, 1966? 1866. They were still slaves. So that is part of it. So no, that 28, no, it's all false. It's talking about the fact that after Titus conquered Jerusalem, many of the people in Israel, in Jerusalem, in Judea at that time, some of them were put on ships by Titus and exiled from Judea into Egypt. When some of them got there, they tried to sell themselves into slavery, but they couldn't find buyers. And it was known, and so then that was written in. So it's like you write something happens, but you backdate it to fit into a prophecy. The Tyson diet of mushrooms. The 13th Amendment clearly shows slavery never ended. Who else feels the prison houses? White people fill the prison houses. Asians fill the prison houses. Every what we call race fills the prison houses. There are actually by population number, there are more white people in American prisons than there are black people or Spanish people, Latins and Spanish, Hispanic, than anybody else. So if you're going to count that as part of the time of the 400 years, then you got to include white people as the children of Israel as well. So it still don't work. I found strange similarity between numerology, life path numbers. Our calendar isn't perfect, yet the same life path number do seems to get along regardless of race. Yeah, I just started recently looking into life path numbers. I think my life path number is 7. No buyers does not mean no one will redeem you. Have anybody got us out of this situation? That is no buyers. Actually, that word, I forgot what the actual word. I did a video about it a couple of weeks ago. The actual word that's used there has like the fourth, fifth definition could mean to redeem. But all other definitions of that word means no one will buy you, no one will purchase you. You know, that's a minor definition use of that word that the Hebrew Israelites have made into the major definition of that word. And it doesn't work. That wasn't the main usage of that word during that time frame. You know, that wasn't the major uses of that word during that time frame. That's something that you find one little bit and latch onto it. We still live in slavery. We work and pay to live. If that was the case, Joel, then everybody has lived in slavery forever, for almost forever, for modern time. Since we have started the barter system, the trade system, and then the monetary system, then we all have been in slavery. And I agree with you on that one there, Slaughter. This century will be more prosperous for African people than American. The U.S. will soon decline further than you think. I definitely agree. Do you believe you are the original Native American? Some of my families were already here before Europeans got here. A lot of my family was not. So yes and no. I celebrate both ancestries. Both ancestries. But slavery doesn't, I don't think because you have to, our system uses money to live is why we are enslaved. In that way, you would still say when we were agrarian, more agrarian society, you were a slave to the land and slave to the weather. No, the term is being used too loosely there to define slavery. But now I am of the out of Africa theory, but there is more proof for the out of Africa than there is for native people already in America. You know, and if you pick a time frame, if you say 1400s, then yeah, there were people here. But disease killed most of them. You actually have documentation of Native American tribes buying African men in order to have a husband because disease had killed their husbands. You had fugitive slaves and who ran to the Seminoles and they fought in the Seminole Wars. Yeah, I'd rather be a slave to nature than to other people. But I'm not a slave to other people. Just because you live in a society where this is our culture. Our culture around the world, for the most part, is the usage of monetary systems. We can't go back to a barter system. We can't go back to an agrarian situation. This is not possible in today's world. There's too many people on the planet, one, to do that, but it's not possible. The economic systems that we have in the world today of using money, coin money, backed up by a bank by the banking system and the government, that's pretty much the only way it was going to work. Everything is his story. Whether you're reading it from a Black perspective, an African perspective, a European perspective, everything is his story. That's why you have to read both sides of the story. When you read both sides of the story, you get a better idea what the truth may possibly be. To pay taxes over and over again so people make money off of you for free. Who makes money off of you for free? Who is the people that's making money off of you for free? Because if that's the case, but one, I pay the minimum amount of taxes I can possibly pay. I do have to pay sales tax, tobacco tax, in order to keep my tax license. But there are people who work at a job to make sure that I pay those. So they have to work to do that. The police, the fire department, all these other jobs, when I was in the Marine Corps, I got paid based on your taxes, but I had to do work to get that payment from your taxes. Banks don't get money off my taxes unless they're getting a bailout, but the banks still have to work to maintain certain levels. They still have to have employees there. Even the CEO of the bank, still has to work. Nobody is sitting at home just getting free money off taxes other than, people who sit at home on welfare. That's why I was hoping you was going to go with people on welfare, because people on welfare and other government assistance who don't do any fucking work at all, those are the only people who are living a free life off of taxes. Everybody else got to work. Your pay may be based on taxes, but everybody else got to work. Every aspect of the bank has to work. And then banks make more money off of interest than they do from taxes. That's interest. Interest is different from taxes. Because if you have zero loans, then you're not paying anything to the bank. If you have zero loans and you have your money in the bank, then you're actually making money off the bank. You ain't making that much, but you're making money off the bank. Unless you got an ass ton of money in there, Oh, there was something somebody said down here that I need to look at. Freemasonry requires a belief in a God so that they know how to appear in your dreams and visions. If you worship the great grasshopper, then you will meet the great grasshopper in your dreams and visions. You're absolutely correct. In order to become a Mason, you do have to believe in that there is a supreme deity. You just can't you can't be a Satanist, though. You can't believe that Satan is that supreme deity. But any other God, you can say that you worship the spaghetti god on Mars, and you have to do that. Well, if 68 isn't true, then when did those in Israel today experience that? So is Yah a liar? Those who created Yah is, because that's never happened. The 400 years was based on the fact that they believe that they spent 400 years in Egypt the first time. There's not there. That's man. Understand, man is writing this book and attributing it to a deity, to Yah, as you call it. So it's not real. It's fake. Nobody's experienced. No group of people sailed away on ships and came to Egypt and was enslaved for 400 years. That has never happened in the history of Egypt, ever. There's zero historical record of that. And the Egyptians kept very good records in stone, on the walls, on tablets. Your wife makes money off from you free daily? Really? Does your wife take care of the house? I'm gonna get it. Are you in the Army, Morning Star? Now your wife, she got a job, bro. To me, the most difficult job in the world is the homemaker, because you work more hours than most people as a homemaker than anybody else, and especially when them little rat children come along. You get them little rat children. The homemaker, they are the most underpaid people in the world. And you can't convince me otherwise. Especially a military wife. Then a military wife got even more stuff that she got to deal with, because she got to be under military regulations, and she ain't even in the military, or he, because I have met some house husbands when I was in the Marine Corps. They believe in Lucifer, but it's just a light bringer. If you're saying Masons believe in Lucifer and that's the light bringer, you are absolutely wrong, sir. Or you talking about Satanists. You have two different kinds of Satanists. You have the kind of Satanists they are the more negative ones that are into the whole sacrificing and human sacrificing and all that kind of stuff. Those are a very small group within Satanism. The other Satanists are the ones who just believe in do what thou wilt, just don't interfere with somebody else's ability to do the same. So you can't trample on somebody else's human rights. Uh, but there's no sin and all that kind of stuff. So you got two different kinds of Luciferians, since you use Lucifer. My grandmother was a morning star. What's the benefit of blacks in Freemasonry? Um, it depends. It depends on where, what. It depends. Literally, it depends on. It's like anything. Like, let's say you work for Chase Bank, but you work for Chase Bank here in Atlanta, or somebody else works for Chase, and there are other Chase Banks everywhere else, and people work for them. Depending upon who's in your leadership, your direct leadership, you're gonna have different benefits. And things can be great, things can be horrible, right? You can hate Chase Bank as a whole, or you can say, or you can recognize that just yours is jacked up. Like the unit I was in, my first 3 years in the military, I hated that fucking unit. I hate the Marine Corps at the time. My next 5 years was great, but anyway, well, 5.5 years was great. So my point is, in Masonry, and Eastern Stars are the women who are attached to a Masonic lodge. If you have a good jurisdiction that you're in, or a good lodge that you're in, one is good for networking, great for networking. It's good for building a higher standard of character of being a man, or being a man or a woman. That is one of the main mottos. Anybody can look this stuff up and find it if you're looking it up just straight up. The motto of Masonry is making good men better. Making good men better. If you're a bad joker, you fucked up, you messed up, and you ain't doing it. But making good men better through moral principles, general moral principles, and being an upstanding person. So it makes you a leader of your community. You're supposed to become a leader within your community by being a Mason. I know you see them out there and they're doing a lot of charity and that sort of thing, but is charity was something that came up later. That's not Masonry is not about charity. Masonry is about networking, becoming more influential in your community, uh, raising the standard of manhood in your community, and building your own personal wealth. Through those connections and how you are now acting as a good man. Um, Having higher personal finances is very important in Masonry. So those are some of the reasons why. Those are some of the good attributes of being in Masonry. If it wasn't for the anti-Masonic party that tried to run against two different presidents at two different time frames and painted the whole negative picture on Masonry, kind of like how um, the French king and the Pope did towards the Knights Templars, with making up a whole bunch of bullshit, then most people wouldn't today have a negative connotation about Masonry. Are there a lot of high political people, wealthy people who are Masons? Yes, because that's one of the tenets of Masonry, is that you're supposed to be building yourself to lead the community and make more money and lead society, but in a good well. And everybody always think that their way is a good way. So just you may not agree with it. Are there some messed up people in Masonry? Yes, yes, because a racist is going to be a racist even if they're a Mason. So you're going to have that no matter what. And then when you look at cultures, like I was saying, the Moors sold slaves, African sold slaves, uh, Native Americans sold and bought slaves, Masons sold slaves. Everybody did, because that was considered correct for that culture. And every organization that has lived through any cultural changes have changed with the culture. But there are a lot of great benefits to being a Mason or Eastern Star. I saw my grandfather build his construction company, and he did not know how to read a blueprint to save his life. And he built a decent construction company. Unfortunately, he died 3-4 years into that. No, let's see, I was, how old was I? I was about 11. So about 4 years before he passed away. And he was on the pathway to building it. He got majority of his contracts through his Masonic connections. And he couldn't read his blueprint. So what's Lucifer? He's just a light bringer. Bringer religion makes it sound so bad. Lucifer is the star of Venus. If you have a clear morning on sunrise, you see Venus as the brightest star. Venus will look like it's falling as the sun rises. So in the Old Testament, it says, "Oh, how ye have fallen like Lucifer, the morning star." Venus was considered the morning star. That's where you knew where the sun was going to rise, and it looked like it was going down, but it's actually just the way the Earth moved, and it's just the light bringer. It brings the sun. That's where the sun's going to rise. So it's the light bringer, which allegorically means it bringing wisdom, bringing light, bringing understanding, bringing safety. Venus is actually burning phosphorus, the morning star. That would be cool. I want to go to Venus. I know that sounds crazy, but I want to go to Venus. I'm tired of Earth. When do you think? When do you think of? What do you think of or hear of Egypt when it comes to mind? I'm enjoying your interaction and replies. Oh, so when you think of, so I read that one. When you think of or hear of Egypt, what comes to your mind? Alchemy, Thoth the Atlantean and Emerald tablets, the pyramids and the energy that resonates off the pyramids, um, pharaohs and dynasties, the Kushite, uh, dark skinned people building, historical kingdoms that rose and fell. Uh, I know you. I don't. I'm not being funny. I don't think of bondage when I think of Egypt. I think of a glorious civilization. I wish I could go back there because I believe that the pyramids, and as Tesla demonstrated, the Great Pyramids were. Oh, thank you, Margaret. I appreciate the stars. Thank you for everybody who donates to the channel. Um, Trust me, when you give money, I'll be like, "Ooh, look at that money." I feel more validated. Appreciate it. But that's what I think of when I think of Egypt. It was a glorious civilization. I would love to have seen it. I would love to have seen the pyramids when I think the pyramids was a source of free energy. It was a source of free energy. And when Tesla kind of sort of proved that, that's when JP Morgan and the Rothschild said, we're not funding that because we can't make any money off of it. So that's what I think about when I think of Egypt. All that other stuff, no. Now I think, but see, I don't look down upon a society when it crumbles. When the Greeks came in and took them over, and when the Romans took them over later on, empires rise, empires fall. That's part of the process. So no empire is going to last forever. Y'all, it's a fly in here. I swear to Bob, he getting on my nerves. He got all this room to fly around until I get finished this and I'm going to find him. I'm trying to get him out the front door, but he getting on my nerves. He keep landing on my arm. It's like he likes cigars for some reason. I thought flies and stuff should be like, I can't breathe. That he would leave me alone. But yeah, that's what comes to mind for me. You speak with the clarity on the subject of Masons. I'm not a Mason, but my father, aunts, and both grandparents were Prince Hall Masons and Eastern Stars. You are right. There's good and there's bad. Well, I can speak with that clarity about Masons because every man in my family, except for my brother right now, is a Mason. And my grandmother was the Eastern Star. I hung out with my grandfather a lot. So I learned a lot. It took me until I was about 42 before I became a Mason. I am a Mason. But I had to do a lot of studying before I became one because I read both sides. There was so much negativity, and I'm like, how can my grandfather have that? And my uncles and all these people. I was like, and everything. And really, the thing that kind of made me start looking at it differently is that I have a cousin, and my cousin Bernard, he's a Prince Hall Mason, and I know Bernard. Bernard's not going to remain a part of something that is negative. And especially the position that he has in his life, he knew he's not going to become a part of it. And then my pappy was one, and he gave me when I say my pappy, this is the father of my kid's mom. When me and her were married for like 17 years. But when my grandfather passed away, he became the man in my house, in my life. He was like, Whether you with my daughter or not, I was in high school. Whether you with my daughter or not, I don't care. You my son. So he took me on knowing that I didn't have, my uncles were all in the military and gone. My dad was living in Tampa. So he was like, I got you. So that's my pappy. You understand what I'm saying? Um, but he took me under his wing at that time frame when I needed it. And he was a Mason. So it took me a while before I would actually become one. Because I have to do my research. And there's only so much research you can do. And then, but let me tell you what matters the most. The group of guys that you are around. If you are ever thinking about becoming a Mason, yes, they vote on whether or not you can become one of them, but you need to investigate them jokers too to make sure that these are a group of people you want to be around. Because if they are not the right group, if you're not getting better by being a part of them, then you shouldn't be there. Tesla didn't prove it. He just stole it if the script's off the wall. Okay, see, I don't do that. I understand what you're saying, Joel, but I think that's a disingenuous way of phrasing it. He didn't steal. True, he didn't steal it. He didn't prove it. Well, he proved that that's possibly or more likely what they were doing with it. He didn't invent it, so I didn't say he invented it, but he did, to me, prove that the pyramids weren't a tomb, that the Great Pyramids weren't a tomb, but he proved that this is most likely what it was used for back in the day. But to steal it, no, because that would mean that damn near everybody who's invented anything stole it from somebody. If you reverse engineer, okay, so I got it. There was this guy who, I think he was in Georgia or Florida. It is said that he figured out how to use sound to move these heavy ass rocks. Well, the meta-nectars demonstrate how they use sound to move some heavy ass rocks. There are some monks in Tibet, I think, demonstrated, but they wouldn't allow themselves to be recorded, of how they can move heavy stones with rocks. I mean, move heavy stones with rocks. Move heavy stones with sound. If you reverse engineer it and figure out how to do that, you're just proving what they did. You're not stealing it. You just, okay, you're standing on the shoulders of somebody and trying to either use it again today or make something better. That's not stealing. That's where, when I said earlier, race don't exist, but I recognize we live in this plane of existence where we have a cultures that make race real. If you took race out of the equation, you wouldn't say he stole anything. You would say that he just improved upon or rediscovered a lost technology. So, and I think that's one of the things that hinder us is that we don't have that realization. We don't do that. We don't function. If somebody's being a racist, then we need to deal with racism. But when somebody is not dealing with racism and they're just doing something scientifically or law-wise or any other situation that doesn't really involve race, just recognize it as a person who did something. That's just my thoughts. You can disagree, but it's my thought on it. They're black. They're a black dynasty that lasted 3,000 plus years. The U.S. would be lucky to make it 590 years. In its current form, I wouldn't even. Well, what we on, like 270 something years in America? What? How many years is America now? Like 2 something? It's 200 something. Yeah. I ain't giving America 590 years, bro. Not in this current form. I'm not giving it 590. You being generous. The way this country, This country is too easily split by whatever new fad thing of culture comes up. What's the rank in Masonry? Or that's not allowed to be revealed. I'm not. Look, Masonry is the what is the phrase that people say a lot? it's not a secret organization. It's just an organization that have secrets, because you can go buy books that are used in Masonic lodges and read them. You ain't gonna understand everything that it's saying. You got to be there to get some of the deeper lessons and understanding. But to see how the ranks of Masonry go, you can go online right now and type that in Google and find out all of that. So from the first degree to the 33rd degree, there's some other stuff after that can't even talk about, but there's a whole bunch of that. You can easily find out that information. That's what I'm saying. Masonry is not for a secret organization. They show they are Masons. We are very public. Put it that way. If America isn't a representation of Egypt, then why is it on the back of the dollar bill? Because the creators of the okay, so actually that feeds into Masonry a little bit, Don. The majority of the people some of the people who were in the Continental Congresses and all that kind of thing, they were Masons. And within Masonry, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, those are Masonic symbols. True Mason, even though Masonry is, how the hell this conversation go? Well, that's why I turned into Masonry. Even though Masonry is right now authorized out of England and Scotland, it is recognized that true ancient Masonry, and even when you're reading it from the books that y'all can get, it goes back to the Levant, goes back to Israel, and a lot of dealings with King Solomon and all these kind of people. The deeper levels of Masonry and the further understanding of his history goes back to the builders of the pyramids, goes back to the builders of the temples in Egypt. So that's why you'll see a lot of Egyptian symbology in Masonry, and then that being the group that a lot of the so-called founding fathers were part of, you'll see it in American money, buildings, all these other kind of things. But you'll see Horus, you can see Serapis, you can see all kinds of different symbology in buildings, especially in DC, that represents a lot of the things that came out of Egypt. Because Egypt, the Egyptian society, the Kemetic society, is considered one of the great builders of modern day society. Before Rome, Kemet was already building magnificent cities. There was actually one gentleman, I forgot. Is that book still in here? No, that book's at home. He was pushing really hard. White guy. I think it's Count Monte Cristo or somebody. He was pushing really hard for Masonry to go back further from the Levant roots to the Egyptian roots and practice more in the Egyptian form of Masonry. But racism and stuff, and they killed him. The negativity was my hang up. Too, I didn't join because it was not many younger people in it when I was most curious. Yeah, you have to find a lodge. That is the big thing about Masonry. Most lodges, although Masonry is starting to grow again, that anti-Masonic party in the 1950s really hurt people wanting to become Masons. Basically, they pulled the German dude stuff. All right, they pulled the German dude stuff. How he blamed the Jews and the handicapped and Africans and everybody else for the suffering that was going on in Germany. The anti-Masonic party, when they ran for president, they blamed the Masons for everything that was going wrong in America, and that caused a negative connotation. Prior to that, in the 50s, and most men were eager to become Masons, and most men were Masons, and they were Masons and Elks. The Elk Lodges was another big organization. It's dwindled big time now, but that anti-Masonic party, and people naturally gravitate towards the negative faster than they would gravitate towards the positive. We know that. That's why the news know that they got to find all the negative stories. There was once a channel that tried to do a good news story, and it lasted for like 6-8 months because nobody would watch it. America was founded out of God, not Jesus. Not how Christians put Jesus Christ as their God. I understand what you're saying, but Jesus, in Christianity, Jesus is not God. I wouldn't say America was founded under God. I'd say that America was founded under money. I mean, the first people who came here, yeah, the Puritans, the Pilgrims, they came here because they wanted their own religious freedoms from the Church of England. But the ones who actually built the colonies and people start coming over here, it was that fake ass American dream. Hey, over here in Europe, you're poor, you're broke. Go over there, you can make some money because you know why? Some other rich people now went over there and figured out that they got all these resources over here. So I say America was founded under money. But I understand what you're saying. They put it like it was founded under the Christian deities, but because most of the people who came here were Christians. No psychic Mason will never reach the pinnacle of the peer. A non-psychic Mason would never. I can agree with you on that one. For things that I am not going to talk about. The Egyptian pyramid's frame is due to the precision of the placement of accuracy mirroring the star constellation of Orion, exactly. Orion's belt specifically. With viewing chambers staring at the pole star at the age of turbine. I agree with you. The way shower is the North Star used to navigate. Oh, the way they mean ships, sailors. The way shower. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. There were atheist founders too. Yeah. The building of America is very interesting in the fact that it was people of all walks. Now, yeah, you got the majority of people were of some type of Christianity, but that's only because the Europeans decided to colonize. It would have been interesting if the Ottomans would have won the wars in the 1400s. If the Ottomans would have won, then it's more likely that America would have been colonized by the Ottomans instead of the Europeans. If that would have been the case, then America would mostly be Islamic. It's gonna be mostly Islamic in about within the next 100 years. That's for damn sure. But since Islam they have more babies than Christians. But let's say Mansa Musa's son, when he came to America, long before the Europeans, if he had sent people back and been like, "Yo, we not only trading with the people over here, it's resources out the yin yang," and then Mansa Musa, he did send another contingent over, but if if the Mali would have not been satisfied with the amount of wealth they had and really would have sent out more and more voyages, then the Americas would have been colonized by the Mali Empire. That would have been the primary ones that colonized America instead. So you had different groups that had the opportunity to colonize America long prior to you get Europeans over there. The difference was, and it's not a racist thing. The difference was that you're saying America's 246 years old? Thank you. The difference was when the Malis came over, when the Guyanese came over, when all these other groups came to the Americas from West Africa, they simply came, traded, and took their ass home. Europeans colonized. Now, it is not out of race, really, that they colonized. I had to explain this to a guy yesterday. What natural resources does Europe have? Right? What natural resources did Europe have? None. They grow some crops. But there are no gold mines, no mineral mines. There's no oil. Europe doesn't have any. Europe doesn't have the ability to sustain large populations. That's one of the reasons why they suffer through the Black Plague, the Spanish flu, and all these other diseases, because when the population got too big and it too crowded, and then they didn't have the hygiene practices of a lot of other places. And one of the reasons why they didn't have the hygiene, look, it's cold. I ain't taking a bath. If it's cold, I'm not taking a bath. I'm not getting in cold water and bathing. You know, man said potatoes. Right. So as the European population grew, in order to survive, they had to go and trade with China, trade with the Levant, with North Africa, and then they started going to West Africa and then going around to India. They had to trade in order to feed the people because the land couldn't provide. Africans, so they didn't need they had to go colonize and then colonizing, you save money by colonizing instead of trading. After a while, you start saying, well, if I just, these people, we using bronze we using steel. They still using wicker or, linen soaked in salt water to make it tougher. We are technologically more advanced than them. Now we're going to use our religion to justify what we're doing. It's cheaper to colonize it. And then other people, like let's say you was a guy, you had a mom and pop shop here in America. I mean, over in England, but if you took what money you got and you go over there, you can get a lot more land. You can increase your wealth. You take that. I'm a middle class guy. I'm finna go over here where I know I can build bigger wealth. This is what I tell a lot of Black people today. You got about 20 to 30 years to jump into Africa before the bulk of the opportunities are gone. The bulk of the opportunities are gone where you can grow rapidly. You'll still be able to grow after 20 years, but it's going to be more akin to growing in America than it will be as far as right now. Right now, it's a golden opportunity to go over there and you can, not get a job, build a business because over there. That's what America was. That's what the Americas, plural, was at that time frame. It was you could build a business bigger and faster and better in America than you could in Europe. So you had a lot of people come over here for that. So that colonization happened because of money and the opportunity and because they needed stuff. Africans were good, got all the water, got all the food, got the resources, good to go. The Americas, good. We don't need to go colonize nowhere else. We got all our stuff. The Chinese under the cons, they spread out because China's a little rough. You got to get into them lowlands, and as your population grow, you got to get over there. You got to go and expand into other cultures. Most wars are started over religion and resources. And colonization was about resources first, and then race was added because the rich Europeans, the lords and ladies and all them said, you know what, there's more people colored in this world than there are us. So let's tell the lower class white people that y'all are better than them so we can get them, make sure they stay on our side. Yeah, Asia is a boom market too. Certain countries in Asia, certain Asian countries are a boom market right now. I don't think the driving force behind the founding of America was unique to them. In my opinion, most empires are fueled by the same energy. Colonization is a fancy word for extortion. Yeah. Organized crime doesn't do the same thing on a smaller scale unless we define countries and nations as organized crime. And I would agree with you. I don't disagree with you on that one. Colonization is extortion. That's why I said, first you trade with them straight up, which in most cases, when you look at the history, most cases, they traded straight up. Like the first Europeans to come into the Canary Islands and then start going into Senegal and Mali and Ghana and all that. Initially, they traded straight up. But then they saw they could take advantage and they say, these non-Christian, pagan, dark-skinned people, we ain't got to trade straight up with them. We can just take what we want. Especially once they was able to establish forts. When they didn't have forts, they had to go straight up because they didn't have They couldn't create incursions inland. But once they started establishing ports and forts and getting more of their people there, now they can start incursions and they can just take what they want instead of they can be like organized crime. Same thing happened with the Americas. It just they had already realized that in Africa and India. So it was like by the time they came to the Americas, it was like, hey, okay, we're gonna trade straight up a ridge right now because we just found y'all, but we about to send some folks over here and plant a flag and kill you and take what we want. We're not about to go through a 200-year time frame, 100 to 200-year time frame where we're gonna trade with you straight up. We finna start taking advantage of you right now. This is why there are good humans and bad humans of all levels of melanation. And most of the problems in this planet is human caused. These damn humans. I'm telling you, that's why when somebody said there's no good place on earth, man, oh shoot, I ain't mean to do that. That's why I'm ready for the heat. Why do I keep doing that? That's why I'm ready to leave y'all. You think I didn't apply for that whole Mars thing? I sure did. I applied. I go to Mars, I leave y'all. Paying tribute replace fair trade. Military is required. You own what only you can defend and protect. Exactly. Most people don't realize that even like speaking of Israel, Israel has never, like the whole kingdom of David and Solomon and all that kind of stuff, that shit didn't exist as far as an independent kingdom. Even when Hezekiah started rewriting his stuff in the 500s, they were still a vassal state of Babylon, or of the Persians. Before that, they were a vassal state of the Babylonians. But they flip-flopped a lot. There was always a vassal state. The Babylonians, the Persians, the Egyptians, everybody. What was crazy to me was that in the whole Moses story, at that time frame in history in the 1400 BCEs, Egypt controlled the Levant at the time. So with Egypt controlling the Levant, Moses left Egypt to go into more Egypt because it was controlled by that area was under Egyptian control. You have letters and documents in stone where you have Egyptian pharaohs are saying, hey, all of y'all are my little vassal states, quit fighting. Or these were some bad trade deals that y'all got going on. Fix this mess. Where the Egyptian pharaoh was telling them jokers, Thutmose the third and fourth and all them, is telling them like, hey, this is what y'all gonna do. But they were still paying tribute to Egypt during that time. So he would have left Egypt to go to more Egypt. If you look at any historical event through the lens of another country, you will notice that its record is completely different. Relying on written history is just choosing your preferred propaganda. Absolutely correct, which is why I always look for archaeological evidence of the existence of something or a group or something like that. As far as the politics and point of views and all that kind of stuff, those can differ. Religion and all that stuff, those can differ. I'll give you a more recent example that I don't know how old you guys are, but most of us may be able to reconcile. But it tripped me out. First time I went to Russia, right? I was curious. So I wanted a history book in Russia that was written in the 80s. And of course I had to have, my little Russian translator because I don't speak Russian. But I grew up, okay, so I definitely know that Dollar is going to be with me on this one. Morningstar, you might. But me and Dollar grew up during the Cold War. At the tail end of during the Cold War into the tail end of the Cold War. So we had the Red Scare. Russia was going to launch their missiles. Communism was so evil. They were the evil incursion. all this stuff. Remember, we had our little movie. What was that movie? Red Dawn. You know, the Rocky movie against the Russian was a big thing because the Russians they were viewed as the evil empire. So I get over to Russia and I find out a history book, and I believe the history book was used like in 86, 87, somewhere down around that time frame. And America was the big threat, the big scare that American capitalism was going to destroy Russia. Americans were going to kill their people. There was, they were trying to destroy the Russian lifestyle and culture and all this stuff. America was painted as the evil empire. In the same way, when I dealt with when I was stationed in Germany, and the Middle East was one of my theaters of operation, and some of the books in the Middle East were like, America is the evil empire, but we was growing up over here thinking that the Arab terrorist, the Muslim terrorist, but it was the Christian terrorist that was preached over there. So it's all perspective. What up, Britt? How you doing? You late? Drills hiding under the desk, bomb shelters. Yeah, I used to think, I got sent to the principal's office one time because, we was doing one of those drills and we got up under the desk. I was in elementary. We got up under one of the desks, and I was like, so a desk is, if a desk is going to protect me from a nuclear missile, why aren't there giant desks over every building and house in America? And I got sent to the principal's office. Because I was like, this is stupid. What is hide? I can understand hiding under the desk if a tornado hit when we did the tornado drills. But for a nuclear attack, what the hell? If a desk is that powerful, we need to put whatever the desk wood is made out of, that needs to be what every house and everything is built out of. And they sent me, I went to the principal's office for that one. Yep, you missed a lot, so you have to go back. We all over the place though. The leaders of the all world are all members of a group or government. The G meetings orchestrated what will happen. Every war is deliberate. I can see the thought process in that. Only thing is that a lot of times them G meetings, they don't agree with each other. I sat in one. I've been to one, so I can only account for that one. And I saw a bunch of disagreements, even in the back rooms. These motherfuckers are disagreeing. They still got I'm America, you Russia. I'm France. They still have their issues. One thing they were agreeing on, let's keep poor countries poor. But yep. What up, B-boy? This, then, yeah. Man, them desk, boy, I'm gonna build me a house made out of whatever that desk wood was. I'm gonna survive everything with some desk wood. Have you ever heard the U.S. military, blacks and white, fought against each other in England, and England sided with black people? You know what? I heard that long time ago, a while back. Shit, when I was in Germany, actually, I heard about that, and I don't remember a lot of it though. That's something I have to go back and re-research again. But didn't that supposed to happen like in World War II or something like that? It's like a little bit, but I do remember something about that, but I can't remember like all of it or really get it in my head. But what was funny was during World War II, the Germans you had so it was during World War II. I thought so. I think my cousin Bernard was the one who was telling me about that back then. You had the Germans. One of the things that was funny, I remember being told by my grandfather that during World War II, the Germans were dropping leaflets from the sky to the black soldiers, telling them, why are you fighting for this country? They hate you. Right? But the problem was, another issue though was the fact that people don't really know that they also killed 50,000 black people in Germany during at the beginning of them, killing everybody who wasn't Aryan, which none of them motherfuckers were Aryan. But I was like, don't tell me not to fight for you. Want me not to fight for them, but you killing us too. I would have had a hard way to go back then. I probably would have deserted and left. Kind of like how over 50,000 black people left America and went to Russia. That tripped me out when I got to Russia and I found out. When the first time I went to Moscow, I was like, shit, I'm gonna be the only black person in this town. And I was seeing some black people like, what y'all got black people? Where do black people come from? I'm thinking like they tourists or something like that. But then I'm talking to them. I'm like, oh, you Russian. You speak Russian. And we got the Russian accent and everything. Like, oh yeah, my family's been here since the 30s. My family's been here since the 40s or the 50s. I'm like, what? Yeah, my family was like, fuck this, we going to Russia. Russia treat us better than America. But the Russians actually treated black people better. And that a lot of them left during like after World War I and in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. And I think it was about a 50,000 people migration over that time frame. So it was interesting that you can get back. Now I couldn't live in Russia; it's too damn cold. But of course, I found out. Okay, is there some racism in Russia? Yes. Is it as bad as America? No, not even close. In Russia, in Latvia, your boy was treated like a superstar. When I tell you your boy was treated like a superstar, especially in Latvia, your boy was treated like a superstar in Latvia. It freaked me out when I got to Latvia too, because everybody kept staring at me, looking at me, staring at me, looking at me. I'm like, oh hell, here we go with some bullshit. But nope, that was not the case. I was being invited to everything and being gifted everything. Shit. So a whole bunch of black dudes decided to get out of the Army and the Marine Corps and stayed in Latvia because we was helping them to build their infrastructure and build their military. My unit participated in nation building, but I'm tell you, I thought I was gonna have a rough 30 days in Latvia. No, had a good time. Had a lot of fun. Amber is like the biggest byproduct, the biggest mining thing that they have in Latvia. When I tell you, I came back every time I went to Latvia and came back, I had so much amber, it was crazy. I was literally just giving amber away to people and stuff, and I ain't paid for none of it. Russian news will never show their founding fathers that they are black in their background, but America hides theirs. Oh, no, Russian news will show. Yeah, you can tell the difference between like the old Russians. They are more of a brownish tan kind of color, a light tan, kind of beige, and you can tell the difference between the more European Russians. But most Russians, especially when you get way the hell out there, more in country, more eastern, they look, especially the ones that are more Mongolian looking. Yeah, a whole bunch of black ones too. Well, I ain't a whole bunch compared to them, but it's still a lot. It was a lot to me. I have a half soul Korean brother over there due to my father. Over in Russia, or over in Korea. There's a whole lot of half black Koreans and Vietnamese and Okinawans and Taiwanese and Thais. American military, black brothers. My pappy is so wrong. While he was in Korea, I'm gonna tell you this side personal joke. He was so wrong. He tells this story, and I was about to punch my son in the jaw because he's in the Air Force now. He was talking about, and my pappy had told him this story too. But it was like he said when he was in Korea, he was in the Korean War. He was over there, and he said he had him a little Korean woman, and he kept promising her, "Yeah, I'm gonna take you back to America. I'm gonna take you back to America." Well, he told her, "I need you to meet me at the docks on Friday, but his unit left on Wednesday. And he always joked, telling him, yeah, she probably, you have to know my pappy. He said, yeah, she probably still sitting on that dock waiting on me, waiting on me to take her. And my son was saying, he said, yeah, if he thought he might get stationed in this one unit, he was in Korea. He said, yeah, I'm going to leave me a little Korean girl sitting there on the docks. I was like, boy, you do that, I swear I would kill you. Don't you listen to them stories of your pappy telling you all that crazy stuff. Where do you think they come from, bro? They come from you? Where do I think who come from? Koreans? Russians? I think what that Chinese geneticist project demonstrated that Asian people came from East Africa and came from there long before any incursions of Greeks and all that. I'm talking about like hundreds of thousand years ago. I wonder if I can make YouTube text bigger. Yeah, but they came from East Africa. Genetically, it's been proven that Asian people come from East Africa. Now, India had huge migrations of Southern Africans, which is why, even though they're considered Asian, they still have a lot of they have a lot of South Africans, lower like Botswana, that area of Botswana, South Africa, all that, Zimbabwe, Zambia. A lot of Indian people come from that migration because the waterway wasn't as, they came through the waterway. Mm-hmm. But if the thing about Africans, if you look at Africa, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, I just saw him talk about this as well, but it's something that I realized when in the 90s when I first went to Africa. You can find almost every facial structure, body structure in Africa that exists in the world. Every type of nose, every type of eyes, cheekbones, body type. The tallest man is in Africa. The shortest man is in Africa. The fastest, the slowest, the longest distance running, all that stuff you can find in African people. That Eve gene is a real thing. Right. And that's why when people say that white people don't have melanin, yes, they do. It's just very low levels of melanin. You got to be albino to not have melanin. And actually, if you read the book of Enoch, Noah, or what's his name, Utnapishtim, was an albino. Modern Israel or current Israel doesn't keep the covenant with Abraham anymore because circumcision was their Achilles heel. That wasn't Achilles heel because folks back in the day was not going to do that. But they also don't keep their old custom because culture. We was going through Leviticus 29 was one of the chapters we did yesterday, and ain't nobody doing all that animal sacrificing and splashing blood all over the place and sprinkling blood all over the place. I don't know about that Yaqub story, my man. That Yaqub story is a little. That was one of the first things that made me so. I was looking at Islam. I was like, that white people came from lepers. And that he invented the pig. The only way to hide a circumcision is to walk around and erect all day. You couldn't do it, so you wouldn't be discovered. Oh. Yeah, I don't even understand that. There was one of the writings in Nag Hammadi asking Jesus about circumcision, and he said that if God wanted you circumcised, you'd have been made that way in the beginning. And I think that's a piece of wisdom that does hold true. Like you would have been made that way. There's a purpose for that foreskin. I ain't gonna lie. I'm glad that I am circumcised because, I've watched pornos. I've seen ones of uncircumcised, and I was like, oh. I'm not sure. I haven't studied Islam in 30 years, man. And then that was more of a nation of Islam thing. If you talk to somebody who is Arab Islam, they'll be like, Yaku, what the hell are you talking about? So that was something that was more nation. Yeah, but I didn't have a religious purpose. Some circumcised. I had a when you cleanling, being able to clean it easier, and I don't want you to get rejected by women when you get older. Circumcision is esoteric. It's got to do with the kundalini. I've never heard of that before, so I'll look that up. That's interesting. But nah, I've talked to some women who like they met a dude who was uncircumcised and they literally broke up with him because they was like, my son was not going through that. But I didn't understand like this preoccupation with penis skins. Like when he told David, go and kill all these people and bring me back 2,000 penis skins. Like, really? The Nation of Islam is equivalent to Jehovah's Witness. I would agree. Facts. I saw it when I was in South Africa in the 90s. Look at, Nelson Mandela. The true history of the earth is buried under the ocean, which covers 2/3 of. Yeah, I really wish, like, all this exploration that we do, we trying to look up and all that, or dig on the ground that we have. There's some history under that damn water. That's what we need to be focused on, creating vehicles and methodologies of unearthing that history. Jesus was circumcised and never uttered in tongues. Circumcision curbed sexual desire, which aided in keeping Mosaic law that revolves around desire. It didn't curb no damn desire. Hell, look at what was the dude? What was that, Jacob? And he wound up having sex with his daughter-in-law because he was horny. He's like, where that priestess at? Ain't no priestess been around here. Oh shit. Okay, well, no, don't worry about the goat then. Girl, you pregnant? I'm gonna kill you because you've been dishonorable. Oh, damn. That was me. That was you. You was a hoe. That's my baby inside you. Oh, you know what? You more righteous than me. That joke was horny as hell. They raping people and hey, kill all the men, kill all the women, kill all the young boys, but and the women who have known man, but all them young women virgins keep for yourself, making you wise. And I don't think circumcision did anything for their arousal. Paul threw out circumcision because it wasn't popular outside of Israel. No one was putting their favorite part in the ding-a-ling guillotine. I agree. And if you really look at some of Paul's writings, I don't think that Paul wrote any goddamn thing personally, but whoever wrote Paul is definitely pro-Roman. Definitely pro-Roman, right? Because most of Paul's writings are written so that to conform more to Roman way of life back at that time frame than to conform to Jewish lifestyle of that time frame. And I have to say of that time frame because that's what you have to always think about when these things are written. They're written based on the culture of that day. But Paul's writing are more. That's why some people, the scholars will they'll call it Paulinian Christianity, because Paul wrote differently than the four Gospels. The messaging is different. And even in some of the things that are attributed to Paul, like the book Titus doesn't write the same way as the other books that are attributed to Paul. So, but Paul was a pro-Roman. Oh my goodness, you were circumcised at what age? Let me see that. You circumcised at 13? Like my little mark. 18. Up. Sorry about that. TikTok. Microphone fell over. 18? Ooh. Previous acted before, and I know immediately that what circumcision did. I lost an inch, and sex now feels like I'm wearing a condom, even though I'm not. Oh, hell no. 18, man, that's late. So uncircumcised was way better. Well, I can imagine. I have heard that before. That uncircumcised is better because, like I got on some jeans today. We wearing clothing. You can become more desensitized with that top part exposed, and we know how much most of our nerve endings are up there. So with it being exposed all day and rubbing against materials, it can become desensitized. Um, but when you're uncircumcised, you got like a little cover over that top part. So when you do gain that erection, it's ready. But and losing the foreskin severed a lot of nerves. I can see that. But the way it looked, the way we live in a society where most women aren't used to that. If we was in a society where women were used to it, it wouldn't have been a big deal. And Paul was a zealot. Paul was like, Jesus coming back before I die. So y'all don't need to get married because you're going to be the bridegroom of the Lord. So don't get married. But if you just can't not stay celibate, go on and get married. Better to marry than to burn. And really what he said is not burn in hell. I was taught as a kid that preachers say burn in hell. If you better not to marry than to burn in hell, but it's better not to marry than to burn with the lust of wanting to have sex, is what he was talking about. But anyhow, yeah, Paul was. If Jesus and Paul actually did meet, they'd have an argument. They disagree with each other because Paul wrote very different. Paul said all you gotta do is believe. You ain't gotta have no activities, no work. You ain't gotta be different. Just believe. That's all that's required. That's why him and Peter, the doctrine out of the Catholic Church is that him and Peter were in argument against each other. Israel subscribes to Paul and Josephus views. Israel, America, all Christianity, and is appealing to Paul and Josephus. And you could throw some Philo of Alexander in there and a little Eusebius as well. And it was not Ignatius. Those were the ones, the first writers. Paul was an antichrist for throwing a covenant supposedly made by God to Abraham. Who was Paul to throw out something promised by God to Abraham? Because Paul was a Roman. At best, Paul's writings was Josephus, but I don't think he was Josephus though. I think Paul might have been somebody who studied Josephus and studied Philo, but I think Paul may have been Philo because Philo was a Hellenistic Jew out of Egypt. So it could have been Philo. But it's probably some unknown joker in Rome who was part of the courts. Well, I don't believe Jesus resurrected. I don't think none of them resurrected. The Catholic Church is trying to legitimize. Did you see my video that I just talked about that? It's called Christianity is headed for self-destruction or something like that. It's Christianity is creating its own self-destruction. It's titled something like that. But yes, the Catholic Church, and it's being spearheaded by the Church of England, the Anglican Church of England, actually. And you got to think about that on two fronts. The Anglican Church of England pushes more of the Protestants, and the Catholic Church pushes, the Catholic Church, but also pushes the Protestants as well. But there was one of the deacons of the Anglican Church was going against the fact that the Church of England and the Anglican Church are trying to reconstruct the doctrine of Christianity to accept homosexuality. Now, I'm not saying that I reject homosexuality. I reject it for myself personally, but If two dudes want to go in their own house and do what they want to do, two dudes go do what you do. Two women want to go do what they do, go do what you do. Y'all know I feel the same way about when it comes to polygamy as well. If you want to have polygamy, go have polygamy. I think it should be legal. Hell, I think it'd be more. I think polygamy is more of a benefit anyway. I don't care, but my care is if your religion says that is wrong, then why are you being punkish about your religion? Stay strong to your religion tells you what it is. Of course, it's on a different time frame and culture. But you and the cultures have changed. You can't change the religion to fit the culture. The religion is supposed to keep the culture. According to Christianity, homosexuality is wrong. So why are they trying to change it? It just further shows that it is the culture that controls the religion and not the religion controlling the culture. So that means that man is creating God. However, man decides to create God based on his own culture. Old Rome will be the new America? Yep, sure will. I do think that America is pretty much headed towards the same. But you know what? The thing about it, all kingdoms, all empires, well, not all, but most kingdoms and empires that are long lasting starts to head in that same direction, because the longer an empire exists, the culture of the empire is going to change. You will have those who are trying to hold on to the old and those who are trying to create to the new. And the new usually wins over. But that gap creates a major issue between the people. I'm telling y'all, this fly, you gonna get it. As soon as I get you, a young looking fly too, because you're small. You're too hyper. Go sit down somewhere. Yeah, I'm talking to a fly. He understand me. Peter said that the only thing. Oh, I almost got him. Yep. Oh, it's two of them in here. You little bastards. It's Angelina's fault. She let him in. Jesus never did. Tongue was proof of the Holy Spirit. Yeah, Jesus never did. Nope. Speaking in a foreign language was previously a sign of demonic possession. Tongues meant possessions. Yep, they changed it though. And it was just speaking in a foreign language. It wasn't this other stuff. This same little repetitive. I did a video about that a couple years ago. Yeah, redefining gender for everyone else. And there is a difference between sex and gender. If he wasn't on my computer, I would smash his ass. But he's on my computer. We're not gonna have dead fly on my computer. Nope. I want to real bad because he's just sitting out there. Look, dude. I did tell you to sit down somewhere. So at least you sitting down somewhere like I told you to. Now don't come crawling on me because that's what irritates me. Little bastard. Stop laughing at me, D-boy. Yes, I'm talking to the fly. But yeah, that redefining of gender. There are anomalies in gender where you have the hermaphrodites and things of that nature. But all this other stuff is just ridiculous. Now, I don't think that you should be able to disqualify people from a job or opportunities based on who they have sex with or who they try to identify as. I don't think you should be doing that. If somebody's qualified for the job, they qualify for the job. Simple as that. He's trying to get out the heat. You need to get his ass outside. It's cool outside there. It's a cloudy day. Well, part of the problems of a cigar lounge is that oftentimes when it's warm, instead of turning on my vent system, which runs my electricity bill up, we'll open the doors. Plus, that lets better airflow. But anyway, what irritates me is when you have, like, what was it? It's a dude who says I identify as a woman, and he starts swimming, and he's beating the shit out of all the records. There's a dude who was identifying as a woman, and he's beating the shit out of these women in MMA. That's some unfair bullshit. I like when some of these states are saying that no, if you were born biologically a male, you cannot participate in female sports. Female sports already have a hard time as it is. Now you want to make it worse? No. Now you want to make it worse for them. You want to make it more difficult for them. That's completely wrong. Because it won't work vice versa. It won't. It will not work vice versa. You a woman who identifies as a man, if she tries to participate in male sports, she's not going to dominate. It's just not going to happen. It's not. You could take the best woman in the WNBA. She is not going to excel in the NBA. It's not going to happen. The biggest, baddest, fastest woman get out there and play in the NFL. Not going to happen. She's not going to dominate. Now, if it's a skill, more of a skill sport, see, like the Williams sisters, as great as they are, if they ever would have stepped on the court of a Pete Sampras, or I'm showing my age, a Pete Sampras or Andre Agassi in their prime, they getting demolished just to serve alone. One of the boringest matches I ever watched was Agassi and Sampras in their prime. And all it was a bunch of freaking serves, especially from Sampras. Agassi was just it. Pat! Walked over to the other side. Pat! Walked over to the other side. They not returning that. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to work. So I think it's bullshit when these men go and they join in on women's sports and taking advantage of that. That's some bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm going to get off my soapbox. So what is a hyena? What? Okay, I don't understand the reference. I mean, I know what a hyena is. And I actually was watching something. They said that a hyena is more akin to the cat. They used to think that hyenas were more of the dog family, but they're more of the cat family. That's the Democratic Party's biggest mistake, yeah. Go watch Serena versus a male at a tennis versus a male at tennis. Tells you everything. I've never seen her play a male. Now, some of those people, I don't know if this is what you're saying, Joel. They'll have like a woman at her top of her game playing against somebody who's like past their prime or somebody who's coming up. Are there women who can beat men in tennis? Yes. Damn near every woman can beat me in tennis right now who's good. Oh, she gets destroyed? Yeah, that's the point. But when they play the top of the top, when the top play the top, nah, that's the comparison. Do you speak it on the morphidites? Oh, hermaphrodite? You know, hermaphrodites is here's the problem with hermaphrodites. You have a hermaphrodite child. The doctors tell the parents to choose at that stage. All right. We need a better way. I don't know if they have a way because I haven't looked at hermaphrodite information technology or screenings in a long ass time. But back when I first researched it, because when my first daughter was in the womb, I was researching all kinds of shit about babies back then. Because I wanted to be prepared. There wasn't a way to tell if your child was born a hermaphrodite if they would have more leanings towards the masculine or more leaning towards the feminine. Didn't know. But parents are asked to choose when the child is a baby. You might choose wrong based on the hormones and genetics within that child. We can probably tell more of a difference now. I'm sure we can now compared to how old is Sydney? 27 years ago. If a person was born hermaphrodite and they say that no, I should have been a woman or I should have been a man, I'm fine. But when you just walking around, not so much. Not so much. And I got family members who are playing for the same team, and I would tell them straight up. I said, "Look, I love you. I always love you, But that don't mean I'm going to agree with you. I'm not. On certain issues, I'm not going to agree with you. On certain issues, I will agree with you. You know, I don't believe in changing your body. If you like women and you're a woman, then I ain't saying you can't go be with a woman. Go be with a woman. I'll respect it. You can come to my house, the whole deal. But when you start changing your body physically, that's when I got a problem. I got a problem with that. When you over dramatize your personality, I got a problem with that. You know that I watched a dude who was, he was gay. This other dude wanted to fight him. He was a male back. What we call, back in my day, you just called him gay basher. He was a gay basher, and he wanted to fight him. And the dude was like, all right. But then the gay dude was like getting ready to doing all this shit. I'm like, dude, put all that shit down right now. You finna take this ass whooping. Fight like you know how to fight. Don't do this windmill shit. I was like, what are you purposely trying to take this ass whooping at that point to me? Because when I was growing up, we had this dude in our neighborhood named Steve. Steve was the only cross-dressing male gay guy that I knew of. The other ones had died. But Steve was the only one. This drug dealing dude wanted to step up to Steve because Steve used to wear the dress, the heels, the everything. But Steve used to go work out at Kegel's gym. So Steve was like, Kyle. Man, Steve beat that dude. Beat his ass. That drug dealing dude had to move out of the state. I think he moved out the state because you can't, after Steve and I whooped your ass, but ain't nobody mess with Steve no more. Steve walk across town, dressed like a woman, you can fuck with Steve. But no, fight like a dude. That kind of stuff get on my nerve when they come, you see them and they acting more girly than a girl. Like no woman acts like that. Or they acting more dude than a dude. Like, what dude acts? Like, don't over dramatize the stuff. That's just, just be you. When I was a personal trainer, I trained this dude for 6 months and didn't know he was gay. Because Reginald Reginald used to sit up there and be like, man, she fine. She got a nice ass. And I was like, yeah. And then when I found out he was gay, I was like, dude, why you be sitting up here talking about women and stuff like that with me? What the hell? Anyway, soapbox again. If a man and a woman train the same, the man would like to become more dominant. Yeah, I mean, our center of gravity is in our chests. We have the ability to build more muscle mass. Women carry an extra layer of fat. We're gonna be totally different. Women's center of gravity is in the hips. Everything works out differently. I used to own a gym and was a personal trainer, so I've seen that where I trained a couple, and they all did the same thing, and they developed completely different. The dude, the women were always pissed off because in 3 months, the dude done dropped and he's getting all svelte and everything, and the woman's still struggling. They be mad as hell. I used to tell them, if you want to get to as fast as he is, you got to work out harder than him. You got to work out twice as hard. I need to see you more often. It's just different. Always gonna be different. I know I missed a bunch of stuff y'all saying. Okay. It'll be dead in 30 days if you don't kill it first. No, I'm gonna kill that bastard first. When I open this door, and oftentimes if I open the door and turn all the lights off, they'll see the light and they'll go towards the light. But if not, I'm gonna find something here. They're gonna take a mollywop. I support their human rights and equal rights. That should be enough. Exactly, I agree. What thing that pisses me off is they're trying to force people to think the way they think. Let me just respect your human rights and your civil rights, and then be fine. Don't force me to have to say, like, I don't like that they're trying to force Christians to change their books. In Canada, they changed their Bible in Canada. You can't sell a Bible in Canada that has anti-gay stuff in it, right? Even though I don't support the Bible, I do support people's right to have their Bible, however close to the original it can be written. So, I don't try to force people to think the way you think. Yeah, man, got a mollywop stuff, man. So you don't even like women getting tattoos? It depends now. I'm a fan of tattoos. shit, I almost got you. I'm gonna get that little pump. I am a fan of tattoos. I just don't have any, but I'm a fan of them. Barack Obama, you remember when Barack Obama killed that fly? Remember that? Killed your cousin. You see, yeah, he wasn't gay that day. No, Steve wasn't gay that day. When women get the neck and the chest tats. Yeah, I'm gonna draw the line there. None of the chest tats. I admire tattoos. I like the artistry, but placement does make a big deal. Chest tattoos. And I don't like when nobody gets them on their neck or their face. I'm like, that's too much. You know, even on a woman's arm is just, you know, it could be too much. You know. Now I'm gonna tell you that little tramp stamp. I like that tramp stamp. I like that tramp stamp, boy. Tramp stamp, nice. I like that. Me likes the tramp stamps. That way, every time she bend over, I'm like, yeah, I like that tramp stamp. Look at that. Yeah, even though I don't like a lot of the things that was this, what's his name? What's the governor down in Florida? I don't like some of the stuff that he's doing, but him keeping it out of the schools, I think it's the right thing. I don't think you should be indoctrinating children into gender and all that stuff. Hell, I didn't even think about gender until I was like in what I think 4th grade is when I first really remember having a crush on Miss Ross. Ooh, Miss Ross was fine, y'all. Miss Ross was real fine. I gotta tell you, you know, I was in 4th grade. You know, Miss Ross, she would want me to do anything. I do whatever she wanted. Miss Ross was fine. That was my first memory of having a crush on the older woman, on a woman. Period. Miss Ross, 4th grade, Lockheed Elementary. And then, but you know, forcing it on the, you know, putting it in the school, K through whatever. I think it's K through 12. No, it shouldn't be a part of that. That's a discussion for families to have. That's a discussion that parents should have with their children, not something the school should be involved in. Mm-hmm. So I do a DeSantis. Thank you. Oh, you wrote it right down. Yeah, I do think I don't like that part. I agree with him on that. Now, some of that other bullshit, like he is fucking up the agricultural condition down in Florida by saying that the people can't pick the crops. Man, my Indian River fruit gonna cost a hell of a lot more money. I'm messing up my plans. In my humble opinion, the state was involved with Christianity since Constantine. Why stop now? Yeah, they have been. The state has been, but that was one of the purposes of separation of state. Even though separation of church and state, it has never actually been a real thing in America. It was just really just saying that they won't allow for a theocracy. It wasn't saying that the religion won't be involved with the state or the state won't be involved with the religion. It was really just to say that we won't have a theocracy. And that the king, if we ever had a king, because they tried to make George Washington into a king, but he refused it. But that the king wouldn't be over the church as well, in the same way that King George was also over the church. You said that lower back tattoo, you like that one? Yeah, I'm telling you that Triple H, boy. Yeah, definitely got to drop an octave. You know what I'm saying? You got to drop that octave a little bit and talk about having that tramp stamp. You know, I like that because be a lady on the street and a freak in the sheets. You know what I'm saying? Got to drop that tramp stamp. You best believe that's one thing I look when I meet a young lady, I be looking to. When I met my lady, she bent over one time. I said, "Oh," and this is when we were just friends. I was like, "Oh, she does have a tramp stamp, doesn't she? Quite interesting. Kill this fucking fly." Yep, good times. Oh my gosh. But it is 2:00. And even though my old men smokers are not here, it's 2:09 actually, I do have some work to do. And one is to kill this goddamn fly. I'm gonna try to let him out, y'all. I'm try to be a good person and let him out so he can live his little 30 days and have a nice little life and all that stuff. But if he ain't out of here, he gonna have to die. Okay? So that's just the way of the world. Everything transmute their energies. So tomorrow, let me see. Hold on for a second. Just so you have an idea. Tomorrow we are back into the Kabbalion, and we will be starting with the all in all. Oh, so when we was talking about that, somebody was Donna on TikTok, when we was talking about everything being a part of God and all that stuff, that's what the all in all is going to we're going to talk about that a lot more in the all in all. We'll definitely be able to go through the all in all. It can become very long in its own discussion. But if we do get through the all in all, that's the end of the law of mentalism. And then we'll start into the law of correspondence, which, I don't know, y'all. We might just do the all in all, because the law of correspondence, one, it's a lot. And that's going to take a lot of explaining, the law of correspondence. So we're just going to do the all in all and really focus on that. And then, of course, go into our free-form discussion, because the law of correspondence that's a lot to talk about. And it could be, I ain't gonna lie to you, I had to read the law of correspondence in my first read of the law of correspondence. I had to reread that chapter probably about 7 or 8 times just to have a decent understanding of it. Because the law of correspondence, because all these planes of, all these great physical plane, great mental plane, great spiritual plane, the plane of mental mind, the plane of elemental mind A, the plane of plant mind, the plane of plant mind B, and animal mind, and then elemental mind, and human mind, and all the minds, it's just all these different things. So we'll be going through that tomorrow. So talking about the all in all tomorrow in our continuation of Philosophy Thursdays or Book Club Thursdays, whatever we call it. So I hope to see everybody here. Thank you for the financial donations. I greatly appreciate that. Please share the videos, and so we can continue to build the audience. I would love to see each one of them grow. There's a new channel, not my channel, but someone else's channel that's going to, we got to tweak a few things tomorrow or today, and hopefully it'll get started by tomorrow. I'll tell you guys about that tomorrow. It's an interesting thing. It ain't about what we talk about here, just to be an interesting channel. I think you guys will enjoy it, because you are all people of inquisitive minds, and I think you'll enjoy that channel. But let me get the tweaks, because I don't want y'all going to start looking for it and there's nothing on it right now. But things will start to be put on it, and then you guys can follow it, and we can grow that channel as well. So I hope y'all have had a great discussion today. I've enjoyed today. I came in today not knowing exactly what we was going to talk about, and then it kind of hit me when I was getting ready for it. But then, of course, the conversation that I wanted to have, we didn't have, because nobody was bold enough. We all are, for the most part, in some semblance of agreement. So we didn't have any. I'll probably see it in the text in the conversation later on. But y'all have a great day. Remember, as always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is not negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. I'm going to kill this fly, and I'll see y'all tomorrow at around 10 o'clock. I'm working out now, so I might be late. That nugget. Oh, no, I'm getting up at 6:30 in the morning. Oh, that's going to be terrible. Off me. Shit. Damn fly.